Chapter 190. Master. Ikaros felt a little uneasy after exposing herself to her master. She wrapped her arms around her chest. Her wings trembled slightly. It was obvious that her master's heart was in turmoil. Little did she know, her actions made her even more alluring. Looking at Ikaros, who's ready to be plucked by anyone, he felt his chi and blood become active. One rushed to his head, making him dizzy, while the other rushed to his lower body, making him burn with rage. Wu Yin gently slid his hand on Ikaros' back. He only needed to use a little force, and his hand would slide down her body at an unimaginable speed. After caressing Ikaros' back, Wu Yin reached out with both hands again. In the past, the best body Wu Yin has ever enjoyed was probably the training he received from Takitsubu Riku in the research lab. As for the others, Chuju, Makoto, Kinuhata Sayai, and Frenda, they all have lowly figures. Only Takitsubu Riku's figure is considered voluptuous. Of course, now that the record has changed, Wu Yin felt that if he doesn't summon another character, other than Astria, Ikaros' body would be the most attractive to him. In just a short while, Wu Yin already felt his mouth dry up. He couldn't help but hold up Ikaros' face and lean down to kiss her. You. Ikaros whimpered in disbelief. Her eyes widened as she stared at Wu Yan's face. Her eyes softened, and she closed her eyes to enjoy the sensation of their tongues intertwining with each other. His tongue moved freely inside Ikaros' small mouth. Every nook and cranny was under his control. Then, he rolled up Ikaros' small tongue and tasted it carefully. His hands didn't stay idle either. He occupied one territory after another on Ikaros' smooth body, including her wings. Wu Yin focused on caressing them. Finally, he reached his hand towards the center of Ikaros' thigh and pressed it there. With a light hook of his finger, Ikaros groaned and opened her eyes. Her eyes were filled with panic at Wu Yan's actions. But this time, Wu Yin was already going all out. You. Under Wu Yan's assault, Ikaros couldn't hold back her moans anymore. Even though her mouth was occupied by Wu Yin, she still let out a whimper. Gradually, as Wu Yan's movements intensified, Ikaros' body started to move along with Wu Yan's movements. Her body moved up and down. Her pair of plump breasts shook violently. Leaving Ikaros' lips, he sucked the thread that came out of her mouth into his mouth. He watched as Ikaros' pair of big white rabbits swayed up and down in front of him. The two little pink pearls drew up and down arcs, making him stop breathing for a bit. Taking a deep breath, Wu Yin couldn't help but move his mouth closer, sucking on one of Ikaros' plump breasts. Ikaros moaned. Her hands didn't know what to do. She hugged Wu Yan's head that was buried in her chest and raised her head. Her soft moans were endless. Master. Ikaros clenched her teeth. Her breathing became very rapid. Because of Wu Yan's finger, Ikaros' body was still moving up and down. Master, you, softer. Ikaros didn't even think about it and said this sentence out loud. The current Ikaros, that outstanding computing ability of hers, has long been lost because of Wu Yin. His tongue licked Ikaros' plump breasts, causing her to moan again. Only then did Wu Yin smile mischievously and move away from the pair of big white rabbits. Taking his finger out of Ikaros' body, Wu Yin raised a shining hand and stuffed it into Ikaros' mouth without hesitation. You. Ikaros subconsciously licked Wu Yan's finger that was in her mouth. When that strange taste spread to her taste buds, Ikaros didn't know why, but she shyly tried to move away from Wu Yan's finger. Too bad. Wu Yin hugged her tightly. Ikaros couldn't leave. She could only close her eyes and let Wu Yan's finger play with her tongue, savoring her own taste. Good girl. Wu Yin nodded in satisfaction and kissed Ikaros on the forehead. This is the good thing about Ikaros. She's very obedient. When Ikaros' skin turned pink, Wu Yin waved his hand and lifted Ikaros up and placed her on top of his body. Ikaros, it's going to be a little painful. Bear with it. Wu Yin said softly. At the same time, waves of excitement spread out in his heart. Finally, Ikaros is going to be his woman. Master. Ikaros hugged Wu Yan's neck, feeling her lower body being pressed against. Her heart was violently trembling, but she still opened her mouth. Ikaros, don't be afraid of pain. Wu Yin smiled and hugged Ikaros' lower body. After adjusting the position, he fiercely pressed down, and with a loud crack, it penetrated Ikaros' body. You. Ikaros clenched her fists, and she frowned. The pain caused her legs to stiffen. She wrapped her arms around Wu Yan's body, and she didn't dare to move anymore. Since Ikaros didn't dare to move, Wu Yan naturally can't move either. Even if it's Ikaros, this is her first experience, and it's very easy to hurt her. If he doesn't control it well at this time, it will bring unimaginable harm to Ikaros. Wu Yin, who only has tenderness for Ikaros in his heart, has long forgotten about the magical recovery items in the system and the automatic recovery system on Ikaros' body. After the pain passed, Ikaros' heart was filled with a great sense of happiness and a heavy sense of loss. Maybe this is what they call worrying about personal gains and losses. But soon, she didn't have time to think about this. The pain passed and was replaced by emptiness, an urgent need to be filled with something. Subconsciously, Ikaros twisted her body and felt the pleasure her master brought her. Her furrowed brows loosened and her eyes began to ripple. Master, there's a strange feeling. Even if Ikaros is lacking in emotional knowledge, she knows she's feeling very comfortable right now. But the word comfortable that came out of her mouth unknowingly became the so-called strange feeling without her consent. Wu Yin, who has had plenty of experience in this, of course he understood the meaning behind Ikaros' words. He chuckled and said with a wicked smile, "Strange feeling? Then Ikaros, are you comfortable?" You. Twisting her body uncontrollably again, Ikaros lowered her head and whispered with pink cheeks. "Yes, Master, Ikaros, it's comfortable." Wu Yin also narrowed his eyes, too pleasurable to the point of speechlessness. Feeling the pressure from Ikaros' lower body, Wu Yin couldn't help but move. Once he moved, it got out of hand. Ah. Ikaros' body swayed up and down. Her whole body hung on Wu Yan's body. She started moaning loudly, no longer suppressing her voice. Master. Ikaros raised her head and moaned at the same time. Master. Are you happy? Yes, of course. Wu Yin panted and stood up. He skewered Ikaros on his body like a barbecue, eliciting a loud moan from her. At the same time, he tossed her body up and down, enjoying himself. "I'm very happy. That's great." Ikaros closed her eyes. 2 lines of tears flowed down her cheeks. These are tears of joy. Master is very happy. Ikaros is also very happy. Wu Yin grinned and rubbed Ikaros' head. He rubbed his face against Ikaros' wings before he continued to toss her around. He listened to her soft panting and moaning as he did so. Chapter 191. In the bathroom, Ikaros' seductive moans are still echoing in the room. In this small space, the two are crazily demanding from each other, leaving traces of their lovemaking everywhere. At a certain point, Ikaros finally reached the peak of her life. Under Wu Yan's influence, she let out a loud cry to express her joy. But while Ikaros is satisfied, Wu Yan isn't. Without a word, he placed Ikaros' powerless body on the floor and flipped her over. "Master!" Ikaros is lying on the floor. She turned around to face Wu Yan. Her eyes are misty and a bit confused. She doesn't know what her master is planning to do. Kneeling behind Ikaros, Wu Yan is panting for breath. Once again, he squeezed into Ikaros' body, causing her to moan as if she's been hit hard. Smack, 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 smack. The sound of flesh colliding echoed throughout the space. Accompanied by Ikaros' music, Wu Yan enjoyed both physically and mentally. Picking up Ikaros' body and pulling her into his embrace, Wu Yan tossed her again. But this time, Ikaros' back is facing him. With both hands free, Wu Yan grabbed Ikaros' pair of big white rabbits. Hand, body, pincer. Ikaros' soul flew out of her body, immersing herself in an inescapable world, unable to extricate herself for a long time. Nibbling on Ikaros' earlobe, Ikaros retracted her head. Right now, every part of her body is sensitive, causing Wu Yin to feel a burst of excitement, teasing everywhere, causing Ikaros to moan nonstop. "Ma master!" Ikaros is panting heavily, shaking her body while watching Wu Yin carefully savoring her body. She mumbled, "I'm so happy." After a while, one of the nerves in her body snapped. Ikaros tensed up and raised her head again, letting out a long whimper. Licking his lips, Wu Yin looked at Ikaros, who's lying on top of him, unable to get up. He can't stop anymore, otherwise he'll suffocate to death. Seeing that Ikaros didn't look too tired, he stood up and hugged her. He pressed her against the wall of the bathroom with her back facing the wall and squeezed her inside. The pitiful Ikaros didn't even get a chance to catch her breath before she was drowned by the pleasure that surged through her body once more. Her little mouth opened and closed. Her fragrant breath hit the wall, causing ripples in the air. She panted delicately. This time, Wu Yin is directly on top of Ikaros' body, stroking her body while moving his body, enjoying himself to his heart's content. After a long time, the moans came again. This time it's longer and louder. Without them knowing, the moans passed through the wall and came out of the bathroom. Hearing Ikaros' moans that are much longer and louder than before, Wu Yin knew that Ikaros has reached her limit. Angeloids don't have dreams because they don't need to sleep. Therefore, Angeloids' time at night is their loneliest time. Angeloids don't need to sleep. Ikaros is the same. Otherwise, she wouldn't be in Wu Yan's room every morning, guarding Wu Yan for an entire night. Perhaps only a thick-skinned girl like Astrea would use her time at night to sleep. After all, even if Angeloids don't need to sleep, they can still rest if they want. But this time, after Ikaros reached her climax, her eyelids fluttered uncontrollably and she miraculously fell asleep. Looking at Ikaros' cute sleeping posture, Wu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They're still in a bathroom. How could she fall asleep like this? But Ikaros' sleep doesn't mean the night is over. What happened? Ikaros. The bathroom door was suddenly slammed open. The president, dressed in pajamas, rushed in without even looking at the situation in the bathroom. "I heard a moan just now. Ikaros, are you?" Chuju stared blankly at the naked Wu Yan and Ikaros, who was sleeping on the floor. She was completely shocked when she smelled the strange odor in the bathroom. Wu Yin and Chuju stared at each other blankly. One didn't expect the other party to suddenly barge in. The other didn't expect the situation in the bathroom to be like this. Combining the two's current situation with Ikaros' moan just now, Mr. President instantly understood the whole situation. Ikaros' moan, wasn't it the same as the last time she was done by Wu Yin? Looking at Mr. President's stunned expression, Wu Yin finally reacted. He glanced at Mr. President's body, and his mouth curved into an evil smile. You. Hinajiko pointed at Wu Yin with a trembling finger. Kaisha-sama's head is already boiling with hot water after witnessing this shocking scene. "Yo, Chuju." Wu Yin greeted Hinajiko as if nothing had happened. It's as if everything that happened just now was just an insignificant matter. Chuju couldn't believe it. This shameless, hateful guy pushed down another woman and still greeted his own wife. Is there anything more shameless than this? Of course, what Chuju didn't know is that there's something even more shameless to come. "Chuju-ah." Wu Yin stood up with a smile and faced Chuju naked. Chuju couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Moreover, he slowly approached Chuju. Seeing Wu Yin getting closer to her, Hinajiku had a bad premonition. She even forgot to criticize him and turned it into this sentence. What are you doing? Hurry up and put on your clothes." Red in the face, Chuju stomped her feet. She turned her head and shouted angrily. However, Wu Yin ignored her. "Chuju, come and accompany me." Wu Yin said something that shocked Chuju. Seeing Wu Yin getting closer and closer to her, Chuju couldn't help but take 2 steps back. She panicked. What are you doing? Could it be? A thought flashed through her mind. Chuju was completely shocked. She knew that with Wu Yan's level of shamelessness, he would definitely do this kind of thing. She didn't wait for Wu Yin to answer. She turned around and planned to run away. Unfortunately, the president's action was still one step too slow. Extending his hand, Wu Yin pulled Kaishu-sama, who was trying to escape, into his arms. Amidst her screams, he sealed her lips with his. Wu! Wu! Chuju's lips were blocked. She struggled with all her might, trying to escape from Wu Yan's evil claws. How could the president, with a tender face, be willing to be with Wu Yin in a place like the bathroom? Moreover, there was another woman in a place like Wu Yin. Therefore, Wu Yin, who was familiar with Chuju's personality, didn't say anything. He directly grabbed Chuju's little butt and pinched Chuju's little butt. Chuju froze. She grabbed him again, this time from the top. The frozen Kaishu-sama went limp again. She could only use her fist to beat Wu Yan's chest with a strength that couldn't even kill a mosquito. This time, it was Kaishu-sama's thin pajamas that got ripped to shreds. Naturally, Kaishu-sama was able to see Wu Yan's naked body. No! Chuju didn't give up on running away. She twisted her body. However, this was just to please Wu Yin. Lifting Kaishu-sama up, Wu Yin snickered. Ignoring Kaishu-sama's weak resistance, he placed her in his arms. Oof. Wu. With a muffled groan, the president gave up on resisting. At this time, resisting was useless. Chuju gritted her teeth with a pair of yellowish-green eyes. She softly moaned. Naughty, naughty, Wu, naughty, naughty. Wu Yin responded to Chuju with a fierce attack. A new nocturne was played in the bathroom again. In Astria's room, on the bed, the master of the bed was covered tightly with a blanket. Faint mumbling could be heard coming from the blanket. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. Nothing. Chapter 192. Academy City, School District 7. In his own home, Wu Yin is sitting in front of a table. Looking at the 2 invitation letters on the table, he scratched his head helplessly. The 2 invitation letters in front of him obviously aren't Shoko Misaki's invitation letters. They're Tokuwadai's Midsummer Festival invitation letters. As a special day of Tokuwadai that appeared in the original work, Wu Yin of course knew about it. He even remembered that Makoto would perform the violin on the day of the Midsummer Festival. To be honest, Wu Yin is looking forward to Makoto's violin performance. More importantly, the theme of Tokuwadai's Midsummer Festival is maids. Can you imagine how big of a temptation it is for a cute girl who used to be a young lady to wear a maid uniform and stand at the door, calling out, "Welcome, master," in a coquettish voice? Even Wu Yin, who already has 3 girls, is getting restless. He wants to see it for himself. As for why Wu Yin, who is supposed to be looking forward to it, he's looking so distressed right now. It's because of the invitation letters. Tokuwadai's Midsummer Festival wasn't something that anyone could participate in. Only those who had been invited by the young misses of Tokuwadai and sent an invitation letter would have the qualifications to enter the dormitory and participate in the Midsummer Festival. With an LV5 Tokuwadai as his wife, Wu Yin doesn't have to worry about not having an invitation letter. Look, isn't there one right in front of him? It's just that the other letter is the real reason why Wu Yin is distressed. Misaka Makoto. Shokuho Misaki. Looking at the names on the 2 invitation letters in front of him, Wu Yin really can't think of anything more out of place than putting these 2 names together. Although Wu Yin is surprised that Jisama would invite him, he's also secretly happy. After all, how can he not be happy when a beauty is thinking about you? But more than that, he's confused. Shokuho Misaki already knows that he has Makoto. With Shokuho Misaki's scheming mind, she should be able to deduce that he also has Hinajuku and Ikaros, as well as Astria, as his girls based on the conversation between Wu Yin and Makoto. It's not hard for her to guess that he has Hinajuku and Ikaros, as well as Astria, as his girls. But even so, she still wanted to get involved with him. Could it be that she was up to something again? If it's because of his performance that day that he captured her heart, and she threw herself in the fire to join Wu Yan's Crystal Palace, Wu Yin wouldn't think that way even if he ate an idiot. Ju-sama is someone who's willing to join someone else's Crystal Palace? Not to mention, there's also her so-called rival, Misaka Makoto. That's why Wu Yan's first thought is that this two-faced Ju-sama is up to something. Plus, when he saw Shokuho Misaki and Makoto's invitation and the location of the Tokuwadai dormitory, Wu Yin was reminded of the Tokuwadai girls who tried to destroy him last time. Thus Wu Yin was troubled. While Wu Yin was troubled, Kaishisama, Ikaros, and Astria came to Wu Yan's side. Kaishisama looked at the invitation on the table and picked up one of them. Are you going or not? It's about to start. Hinagika said unhappily. Hinagika was looking forward to this kind of event. It was similar to Bai King Academy's festival. Wu Yin bitterly smiled and slapped his cheeks to get rid of those thoughts. He walked to the door. If I die, I die. Academy City, School District 7, Win, Hinajiku, Ikaros, and Astria stood at the entrance of the Tokawadai dormitory. They looked at the people who handed in their invitations and walked in. They also looked at the people who didn't have invitations, standing not far away from them. They looked at each other and smiled. So many people. It's so lively. Astria's eyes sparkled as she looked at the people around her. She looked really happy. The men and women around her gasped in surprise. Astria didn't know that she's already made a lot of people fall for her cuteness. She was still looking around. She was the one who looked forward to the Tokawadai Midsummer Festival the most. It's not just because it's fun, it's also because of what Wu Yin said to Astria before they came. You can eat all the food in the Tokawadai Midsummer Festival for free. Astria's eyes lit up, bringing along 3 pretty girls who stunned everyone. Wu Yin walked to the entrance of the inspection room and handed over the invitation letter. Then, he walked into Tokawadai's dormitory amidst the envy and jealousy he's been through countless times. Welcome, Master. The 4 of them stood in the middle of the hall with 2 rows of maids. They were all stunned when they heard the delicate greeting. Of course, they were stunned for different reasons. Wu Yin rubbed his chin while looking at the 2 rows of maids. He suddenly looked forward to seeing Mikoto in maid attire. Don't tell me Mikoto is dressed like that too? Chuju raised an eyebrow and said. However, Wu Yin saw that she was looking forward to it more. Where's the food? Astria looked left and right before she blurted out those words. Wu Yin and Hinagika both felt powerless. The 2 rows of Tokawadai maids gasped when they saw the person's face. One of them even pointed at Wu Yin and shouted, Isn't that the scum who seduced Misaka-sama and Shokuha-sama? Time! It stopped. Wu Yan's lips twitched. He endured the gazes he got from the crowd. He almost went crazy. Hinajiku and Astria are stunned. They don't know why this happened. Ikaros is the only one who's still as calm as ever. Wu Yin really wanted to ridicule the girl for saying something like scum or seduction, but he didn't have the time to care about these things. A petite figure suddenly appeared in front of Wu Yin. She swung her 2 pink ponytails with a frosty expression. A small palm came towards Wu Yin. Wu Yin already sensed her since she appeared. However, he didn't do anything. He didn't want to expose his strength in front of so many people. However, just because Wu Yin didn't make a move doesn't mean others can't. A light blue crystal shield formed from data appeared in front of Wu Yin. It blocked the hand that reached towards Wu Yin. Ikaros raised her hand as if she did something insignificant. Before she could react, Wu Yin grabbed her hand, and with a twist, he locked her hand behind her back. His other hand pressed against her forehead, restraining her. The scene that had happened once before was happening again. Damn scum. Let me go. A certain pink pigtailed creature that Kuriko pronounced as a pervert struggled with all her might in Wu Yan's arms. Her pink eyes were filled with resentment towards Wu Yin. Wu Yin helplessly patted Kuriko's head, causing her to be very dissatisfied. I say, Kuriko, how did I provoke you? You actually attacked me the moment you arrived. Don't call me Kuriko so intimately. Kuriko shouted loudly. Wait until I move a scum like you into the ground. Then I'll burn the Joss paper and tell you why. Rolling his eyes, Wu Yin said directly. Even if you don't say it, I can guess why a Yuri girl like you is targeting me. Isn't it because of Mikoto? Since you know, then obediently let me move you into the ground. Only an idiot would do that. I think you want me to tie you up again. You dare. Although she said that, Kuriko still stopped struggling. It seems like she's still afraid that Wu Yin will really tie her up. However, Kuriko still said with hatred, Damn it, this won't do. I must find a chance to destroy this scum. I can't let him get close to One-sama. I say, can you lower your voice? Chapter 193. Under everyone's gaze, Wu Yin and Kuriko were locked in a stalemate. Neither of them could move the other. When the surrounding people saw how much Kuriko hated Wu Yin, they started whispering among themselves. Kuriko was Makoto's roommate. Everyone knew this. After all, it was hard for the roommate of Tokuwadai's ace to not be famous. When they saw how much Makoto-sama's roommate wanted to get rid of Wu Yin, they were even more certain of their thoughts. This scum in front of them used despicable means to capture Makoto-sama's heart. Makoto-sama's roommate found out about this. Therefore, Makoto-sama's roommate, in order to save Makoto-sama from the evil clutches of that scum, she charged forward to fight the Devil King without any regard for her own safety. When this thought appeared, the gazes of the Tokuwadai girls towards Wu Yin became very unfriendly. Even those from the Queen's faction started to gather their computing power, planning to get rid of Wu Yin. If Wu Yin knew what these Tokuwadai girls were thinking, he would definitely tie them all up and bring them home and beat together. At the crucial moment, Mikoto finally appeared. She didn't know that her appearance prevented a tragedy from happening. When she saw Wu Yin and Kuriko, she was shocked for a moment before running over. "Wani-sama, hurry and leave. Don't get close to this scum. He will defile you." Kuriko immediately shouted when she saw Mikoto running over. Her words made Wu Yan's face darken. Mikoto, who was running over, almost tripped and fell on the floor. Wu Yin slapped Kuriko's head and ignored her cries of pain and protest. He looked at Mikoto's new appearance, and his eyes lit up as he nodded in satisfaction. She was wearing the exact same maid outfit that he saw on the screen before. Wu Yin had to admit that Mikoto at this moment was really cute. At this time, Wu Yin suddenly remembered that the maid outfit and apron he bought when he went out with Mikoto was still in his space ring. Looking at Mikoto, then at Chuju and Ikaros, Wu Yan's eyes flashed with an evil glint. It was decided. Next time, he would definitely make the three of them wear maid outfits or aprons and have a go with him. Chuju, Mikoto, and Ikaros didn't know about Wu Yan's evil thoughts. But Chuju and Mikoto both felt a chill down their spines. They felt a sense of danger approaching, making them paranoid. As for Ikaros, forget about maid outfits and aprons. She even tried wearing her angelic light armor to make love to Wu Yin, let alone maid outfits and aprons. "Blackie, what the hell are you doing?" Mikoto came to the front of the crowd and heard the girls of Tokuwadai whispering. She thought that Kuriko had done something shameful again and immediately criticized her. "Wani-sama, Blackie didn't do anything." Kuriko looked at Mikoto with a pure and innocent expression. She was actually kind of cute, but the next sentence completely shattered her image. "I just want to prevent this scum from tainting my beloved Wani-sama. Blackie wants to stuff this scum into the ground. You bastard." Mikoto clenched her fists. At this moment, Mikoto felt that everyone's eyes were glaring. After all, Mikoto didn't want others to think that she's a girl with an abnormal sexual orientation, although it's not like she hasn't acted out this scene in front of everyone before. "Wani-sama?" Blackie's hands were held behind her back by Wu Yin. She could only kick her legs towards Mikoto and shout loudly. "Wani-sama, you should leave here first. Let Blackie go first." Whoa. Without waiting for Blackie to finish, Mikoto already guessed that she's going to say something shameful. She directly used Dragon Catcher Hand, pinched Blackie's cheeks, and pulled them away with all her strength. "Blackie." Mikoto forced a smile and said, "Don't you know that every time you say something, it makes me feel a lot of pressure?" Whoa. With her cheeks being pulled, Blackie could only spit out a few whimpers, tears in the corner of her eyes. She probably wants Mikoto to let her go. "Your relationship is still as good as always." At this time, the sudden appearance of a voice finally saved Blackie. Ruko and Waharu stood not far away, as cute as always. But this time, the two girls didn't wear Sakugawa Middle School's uniform. Instead, they wore casual clothes. "Zuitian-san, Waharu-san." Mikoto awkwardly let go of her hand, and Wu Yin also let go at the same time. Blackie suddenly slid to the ground like a puddle of mud. Mikoto quickly shook her head. "How is our relationship good? It's just playing around." "Yes, that's right. Like this, it's more likely to make people suspect that you're Yuri. Ruko and Wahru also laughed. Of course they know what's going on. They're just teasing Makoto. Makoto laughed dryly, speechless. Era, isn't this good? Hearing this familiar laughter, Makoto's face suddenly froze, and everyone else was stunned, because the owner of the voice is a beautiful blonde girl. Shokuho Misaki. Looking at Shokuho Misaki in her maid uniform, elegantly walking towards him, Wu Yan's mouth twitched. Although he received Shokuho Misaki's invitation, Wu Yan didn't expect her to appear here. What's going on? In the original work, he didn't see Shokuho Misaki appear in the Midsummer Festival. The surrounding people were excited. Not only did Misaka-sama appear, even Shokuho-sama appeared in front of them. And at this time, they're already cheering. This scene is like a celebrity's appearance, appearing in the midst of cheers and supporters, full of aura. So beautiful. So cool. Ruko and Wahru looked at Shoko Misaki with stars in their eyes. One is envious of her ability level. The other is envious of her aura. What a show. Chuju also sighed. If everyone is sighing, then Makoto is completely dissatisfied. You woman, why are you here? Shokuho Misaki giggled and walked to Wu Yan's side, and under everyone's stunned gaze, she hugged Wu Yan's arm and said intimately, "Of course I'm here to pick up my little yin." Makoto gritted her teeth, and Chuju, who doesn't know Shokuho Misaki, glanced at Wu Yan with a dangerous glint in her eyes, causing Wu Yan to shiver. I need an explanation. Chuju's eyes were filled with such intent, and Wu Yan could only nod helplessly. He looked at Ikaros, who also wanted to say something, but stopped, and shook his head at her. Ikaros then returned to her original state. Wu Yan looked up at the sky and sighed. Even if he used his heel to think, he can guess what's going to happen next. Are you trying to provoke me? Makoto's forehead flashed with electricity. She looked at Shokuho Misaki and said in a low voice. Shokuho Misaki didn't care at all and just smiled. Misaka-san, how can you say that? I invited little Yin here. Of course I'm here to pick him up. I'm not trying to provoke you at all. Who would believe you if you say that out loud? Wu Yin cursed in his heart. He felt helpless that the fire would spread to him so quickly. Sure enough, Makoto turned to Wu Yin and said gently, Yin, did you come because she invited you? How can you believe that? Are you an idiot? Wu Yin clutched his head, indicating that he has a headache. Makoto's face turned red. She felt ashamed that she actually believed Shokuho Misaki's words. Little Yin, I clearly have one. Shokuho Misaki hugged Wu Yan's arm and acted coquettishly, causing the jaws of the Tokuwadai girls who were familiar with her to drop to the ground. Makoto turned a deaf ear to Shokuho Misaki's words. She immediately turned to Shokuho Misaki and said, Shokuho Misaki, Yin said he wasn't invited by you. You can leave. Makoto hesitated. In the end, she clenched her teeth, closed her eyes, and shouted with a red face. Can you please leave my boyfriend? Chapter 194. Can you please leave my boyfriend? Silence. A deathly silence. The onlookers, Tokuwadai's maid attire, Wu Yin and Co., including Shokuho Misaki and Ikaros, who were calm and collected, all froze in place. Makoto's eyes were still closed. Her face was completely red, and she didn't even dare to look at anyone. It's really hard to believe that she was the one who said those words just now. Even Hinajiku, who had sacrificed her first time with Makoto, couldn't help but twitch her mouth in shock. She looked at Shokuho Misaki, who was still in a daze, and said awkwardly, This woman, just how bad is her relationship with Makoto to force her to this extent? Wu Yin laughed dryly. How would Hinajika know that Shokuho Misaki is the person Makoto dislikes the most? To be able to make Makoto feel a sense of danger, she must be quite the character. Although, Wu Yin felt pretty good when he heard Makoto yell, Can you please leave my boyfriend? In front of everyone. Oh, Makoto-ne-san, Makoto-senpai, you're so brave. Astria, Ruko, and Wahru looked at Makoto with admiration. It's like they're on a pilgrimage. No, Wani-sama, this can't be real. At this moment of incomparable silence, An incomparably mournful scream suddenly came from the mouth of a certain lump on the ground. It was a scream of despair. The voice was filled with disbelief and madness. The double ponytailed Yuri creature seems to have triggered some sort of resurrection on the spot state. She jumped up from the floor and jumped 3 feet high. When she landed on the ground, her whole body was already pouncing towards Mikoto, who still hasn't opened her eyes. Wani-sama, this can't be real. Whoa. Kuriko clung onto Mikoto's body. Her little face was rubbing against Mikoto's small chest. She cried as she did so. Wani-sama, my great, handsome, and charming Wani-sama, how could you submit to the power of that scum ape? This can't be real. Wani-sama, don't abandon Kuriko. Woo. At this moment, there was no doubt that the scene belonged to the 2 girls who were tightly pressed against each other, because everyone had already been completely dumbfounded from the 2 blows. Kuriko. Mikoto thought that she would be praised by the crowd, but what she got was an attack from this black and white creature. Mikoto's mind was in a mess. All sorts of weird gazes fell on her body. It was as if they were re-evaluating her as a person. Mikoto felt all sorts of awkwardness. As she screamed, the electricity flowed through her body, and then it was all absorbed by the pervert on her body. Black smoke billowed out as she fell to the ground. Kuriko's body twitched as saliva dripped from the corner of her mouth. She was moaning as if she was having an orgasm. Everyone around her felt chill down their spine. They subconsciously took 2 steps back to distance themselves from her. Shokouho Misaki covered her mouth with her hand. It's not clear if she's trying to act like a queen or if she's shocked by Mikoto's words. She looked at the expressions of the people around her, and then at the embarrassed Mikoto and Wu Yin, who's laughing dryly. Her eyes flashed with a hint of resentment, and without thinking, she opened her mouth. Misaka classmate, you're wrong. Little Yin is my boyfriend. Wu Yin, who was laughing, dryly froze. Everyone who just came back to their senses from Mikoto's declaration and Kuriko's farce was once again stunned by Shokouho Misaki's statement. Their minds went blank. You. Mikoto was so angry that her forehead was throbbing with electricity. Her face turned from red to angry. She didn't expect Shokouho Misaki to be so shameless. Hugging your boyfriend is a natural thing to do, Misaka-san. Shokouho Misaki pulled out a victorious smile. Her hand that was covered with a white spiderweb glove was circling Wu Yan's chest. Mikoto was panting heavily as she glared at Shokouho Misaki. What right do you have to say that Yin is your boyfriend? Oh, Misaka-san, as a member of Tokuwadai, don't tell me you didn't hear the rumors about Tokuwadai? Shokouho Misaki smirked and looked at Mikoto with sly eyes. Everyone knows that I went on a date with Yin not long ago. Tell me, if he's not my boyfriend, why would I go on a date with him? The people around nodded. Indeed, with Shokouho Misaki's personality, if she didn't like a guy, she wouldn't go on a date with him. Only Shokouho Misaki herself knew that she was only embarrassed at the time. You went on a date with him, and that proves he's your boyfriend? Mikoto was so angry that she laughed. She pointed at Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria. She didn't care about the consequences. Then me, Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria all went on a date with Yin. Does that mean he's our boyfriend? What? This time, everyone was shocked. They looked at the 5 of them, who were the best of the best. Mikoto, Chuju, Ikaros, Astria, and Shokouho Misaki, and they all screamed. Following that, all sorts of gazes, such as danger, disdain, jealousy, resentment, and disbelief, shot from their eyes at the winner of life in their eyes. Scum, beast, shameless, my idol. When the last sentence was said, the owner of the voice felt the murderous intent directed at him. He trembled and pointed at Wu Yin without hesitation. Bastard. Everyone was satisfied and retracted their murderous intent. Wu Yan's veins were popping. He wanted to kill them all. Shokouho Misaki finally noticed Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria. She didn't know these 3, but these 3 names had been on her mind for a long time. She took a good look at the 3 girls. Even Shokouho Misaki couldn't help but sigh. These 3 girls' looks and temperament are extraordinary. Even compared to her and that eerie toddler's body, they're on par with them. Women like this are all gathered around this man. Just who is he? Shokuho Misaki glanced at Wu Yin and put on an elegant smile. She bowed to Chuju and the others. My apologies. Everyone, it's my fault for not noticing the three of you. I apologize. I hope the three of you can forgive me. Her natural and graceful posture, as well as her style of etiquette, won the hearts of the people around her. She also won the favor of Chuju and Astria. As for Ikaros, forget about it. It's nothing, don't worry about it. Hinajiku waved her hand at Shokuho Misaki, showing that she didn't mind. After all, the president of the student council of Baiwang Academy is someone who doesn't know manners. Shokuho Misaki smiled politely, but she was shocked. Shokuho Misaki's ability had already been activated when she was greeting him. However, he did not expect that the three girls in front of him were not affected at all. It was as if his ability had sunk into a stone pond, never to return. There was no response at all. Who the hell are they? Of course, on the surface, Shokuho Misaki maintained a calm expression. She continued to exchange pleasantries with Chuju. Wu Yin was having a headache watching this. Looking at the eyes of the girls around him, Wu Yin looked up at the sky, speechlessly. He felt like it's better for him to play a small role in this situation. However, when Makoto saw him, it turned into an acknowledgement of Shokuho Misaki's so-called boyfriend. She gritted her teeth and ran to Wu Yan's side to grab his arm. Why aren't you leaving that woman? Makoto exclaimed in exasperation. At the same time, she pinched Wu Yan's waist and gave it a hard twist. Ouch! Wu Yan, who has never tried this skill that is exclusively for women, howled in pain as tears streamed down his cheeks. It's my fault again. Chapter 195. Wu Yan, who was planning to be a walk-on, was pinched by Makoto. His howl of pain immediately attracted the attention of the crowd. Makoto and Makoto's words made Wu Yin the center of attention, and now he's the center of attention. Looking at the expressions of the people around him, he rubbed the bruised flesh on his waist. Wu Yin pursed his lips. He didn't expect Sis Cannon to do something so girly. With a sigh, Wu Yin freed himself from Shokuho Misaki in Makoto's arms. He looked at Shokuho Misaki with a smile. Hey, Queen-sama, aren't you afraid that I'll take your boyfriend's words seriously? Shokuho Misaki was stunned for a moment before she smiled and hugged Wu Yan's arm again. What are you talking about, little Yan? We're a couple. How could you say that? Don't tell me. At this point, Shokuho Misaki's eyes were filled with tears as she sobbed pitifully. Don't tell me you're not going to admit it? Whoosh! Other than the two of them who were standing in the center of the room, the rest of the crowd turned their attention to Wu Yan. If looks could kill, Wu Yan would have died 1,000,000 times over. Shokuho Misaki's act is so convincing that the others couldn't help but believe her. Even Hinajiku and Ko are looking at Wu Yan suspiciously. They're imagining Wu Yan having an affair. Only Makoto, who knew Shokuho Misaki very well, pursed her lips in disdain and retorted. Last time was the first time you two met. This is the second time, right? Would you call a guy you just met your boyfriend for the first time? Shokuho Misaki laughed and stared at Makoto with an inexplicable expression. She looked at Makoto as if she was looking at an ignorant elementary school student. Miss Saxon, have you never heard of love at first sight? You're so ignorant. Looking at Jisuma, who was on the verge of tears a second ago, and now she's smiling like a flower, Wu Yin silently ridiculed her. Makoto glanced at her and mocked her. You fell in love with Yan at first sight. That's only possible if he thinks highly of you. F***CK. This is big trouble. Wu Yin knew something was wrong when he heard Sis Cannon's words. Queen Sama's eyes twinkled, and she said in a tender voice, Little Yin, tell me, did you fall in love at first sight with me? Makoto immediately turned around and hugged Wu Yan's other arm and glared at him. Tell me, are you interested in this woman or not? Both his arms lost again, Wu Yin and Makoto help him. Makoto, or Ikaros, could save his life. Makoto. Ikaros couldn't help but take a step forward. She was about to say something when Hinajiku stopped her. Smiling sweetly at Wu Yin, Chuju whispered, Actually, I want to know the answer too. Why am I always the one getting hurt? Looking at the sweet-looking Shoko Misaki and the serious-looking Mikoto, Wu sighed. He rolled his eyes and leaned closer to Mikoto and whispered something in her ear that almost made her jump. Mikoto, if you want to know the answer, promise me that you'll bring me to your dorm later. Wear what you're wearing and do it with me. Blood started spreading from Mikoto's neck upwards. In a short while, Mikoto's entire face was as hot as boiling water. Even her head felt a little dizzy. You actually, how about it? Promise me? Wu Yin grinned at Mikoto. Mikoto was starting to suspect that Wu Yin had been planning this all along. Is that all you've been thinking about? Mikoto clenched her teeth. Her face was red as she suppressed her urge to go berserk. Then do you promise me or not? Wu Yin didn't deny it. If you don't promise me, then... You bastard. Mikoto's blushing face kept changing. Her heart was beating so fast. How was she supposed to answer this question? The surrounding people looked at the two who were whispering to each other suspiciously. Looking at Misaka Mikoto's bashful face, they started to think about it. Shokuho Misaki, who was closest to the two, pricked up her ears, trying to listen for something. Unfortunately, Wu Yin and Mikoto's voices were muffled. She couldn't hear anything clearly. This made her anxious. Mikoto also saw Shokuho Misaki's actions. Thinking of Wu Yin's answer, she panicked. She looked at Wu Yin and whispered, I promise. That's it. Wu Yin, who had an evil grin on his face and was probably laughing in his heart. After getting Mikoto's answer, he turned around and looked at Shokuho Misaki. I say, Ju-sama, let's make things clear today. Wu Yin smiled at Shokuho Misaki. His expression made Shokuho Misaki frown. What? Shokuho Misaki pretended to be calm as she glared at Wu Yin. Wu Yin's expression right now is exactly the same as the first time they met when he stood up for Misaka Mikoto. You already know Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria, right? Wu Yin waved his hand at Hanajuku, Ikaros, and Astria. The three girls came over with confused looks on their faces. Ju-sama, Misaka Mikoto is my woman. Mikoto's face turned red again. Shokuho Misaki was still looking at Wu Yin. She knew Wu Yin had more to say, but Wu Yin's next sentence stunned her. Gue Chuju is also my woman. Why did you say that? Chuju was stunned. Her face was burning. She didn't expect Wu Yin to suddenly say something like that. The crowd went into an uproar. Ju-sama was also stunned. She couldn't stay calm anymore. Unfortunately, Wu Yin seemed to want to challenge her bottom line. And Ikaros is also my woman. Ikaros's face turned red and she lowered her head. As for the audience, they were already in hysterics. What is the meaning of this? Is he going to open the Crystal Palace openly? This guy should be dragged out and punished by the heavens. Wu Yin ignored all the discussions and looked at Shokuho Misaki, who was stunned by his words. As you've heard, I have 3 women who love me very much, and I love them very much too. Therefore, Your Majesty, if you still insist on the idea of, I'm your boyfriend, then you're welcome to join us. Boom! That one sentence made the crowd go crazy. He actually said that he would welcome Ju-sama from Tokuwadai, the number 5 Shokuho Misaki, to join his Crystal Palace. Also, Tokuwadai's Electric Princess, the number 3 trump card, Misaka Mikoto, is also a member of his Crystal Palace. The world has gone crazy. At this time, Wu Yin didn't care about the gazes of the people around him anymore. He looked like he didn't care at all. It's as if the words he just said didn't come out of his mouth. From a strategy point of view, Wu Yin's action is undoubtedly limiting Ju-sama's favorability to below 50. She can't go any further. In fact, she might even suspect Wu Yin's intentions. Lowering her favorability towards Wu Yin wouldn't be surprising. However, Wu Yin didn't care. It's not that he doesn't like Ju-sama, but she's too domineering. To gain her approval, he must at least be stronger than her. Otherwise, she will ride on his head. It's fine if Ju-sama enters his arms. She can ride on his head. She's his woman anyway. What can she do? Also, he can't hide his relationship with Chuju and the others from the quick-witted Ju-sama. It might be better if he just said it out loud. Worst comes to worst, I'll make her my summon. When that happens, She won't be able to run away. Pulling up Mikoto and Hinajiku, who were also stunned by his declaration, Wu Yin headed toward the dormitory with Ikaros and Astria in tow, leaving behind a group of people who were stunned by what they just heard. Shokuha Misaki stared at Wu Yan's back as he left. She gritted her teeth and stomped her feet. She cursed under her breath. Damn man. Unfaithful man. What's so great about him? How dare he embarrass me in front of everyone? No man has ever rejected me like that. Wu Yan, just you wait. Chapter 196. With a light cry, Mikoto was lifted up by Wu Yin and thrown onto her own bed. When she landed on the soft bed, Mikoto immediately flipped over. Her face was already flushed red. Closing the door to Mikoto's dorm room, Wu Yin looked at Mikoto in her maid attire, his heart filled with excitement as he slowly walked towards her. Chuju and Ikaros accompanied Astria to the cafeteria. One of Astria's reasons for coming here was to feast. Wu Yin used that as an excuse to send the three of them away. Then, he dragged Mikoto to her room. Even though he was interested in Sis Cannon's room, now wasn't the time to take a closer look. First things first, looking at Wu Yin, who was getting closer and closer to her, Mikoto started panicking. She couldn't help but move deeper into the bed. She looks like a girl who is about to be raped. Wu Yan's blood is boiling. Mikoto gulped and forced a smile. Yin, it's not a good idea for us to leave Hinajiku and the rest behind. What if they can't find us later on? Let's go back. Don't worry, with Astria's appetite, they won't leave the cafeteria so soon. We have plenty of time. With one knee on the bed, Wu Yin said as he approached Mikoto. It's like he's preparing to make love to her before he goes in for the deed. Mikoto moved back again. Her face turned red as she panicked and tried to find an excuse. Then, what about Zuotian and Waharu? They will be helpless without anyone to lead the way. There's so many Tokuwadai ladies here. There are plenty of people to lead the way. Don't worry. Wu Yin closed in on Mikoto and forced her to the head of the bed. She had nowhere to run. Mikoto whimpered unwillingly. Even though she knew she couldn't escape her fate this time, she still retreated. After all, Sis Cannon's face was too tender. Wu Yin rolled his eyes and said, "Don't waste your time. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. You won't be able to escape. Just accept your fate." That was true. In the original work, Sis Cannon wore her Tokuwadai uniform the most. Even though the uniform was cute, it didn't feel good to wear the same uniform all the time. That's why ever since he saw Mikoto's maid outfit in the Tokuwadai Midsummer Festival episode, Wu Yin had fantasized more than once about doing it with Sis Cannon in a maid outfit. Now, the opportunity was right in front of Wu Yin. How could Wu Yin let such a fat piece of meat slip away? Looking at his face getting closer and closer, Mikoto's face blushed uncontrollably. After a while, she finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted, "I knew it. It still won't work." She pushed Wu Yin away from her and jumped off the bed. Then, she ran towards the door. But how could Mikoto beat Wu Yin in terms of physical fitness? Before she could run far, she felt her hand being grabbed. She lost her balance and fell on Wu Yin, who was behind her. Just as she fell down, Mikoto felt her earlobe being sucked by something. A soft tongue was licking her earlobe, causing her to cry out in surprise. A pair of large hands wrapped around her waist from behind, trapping her firmly in his arms. Mikoto blushed and closed her eyes as she accepted her fate. His tongue licked Mikoto's earlobe, then licked her cheeks, causing Mikoto to shrink back. Wu Yin rubbed Mikoto's head and then aimed his mouth at her lips. Her lips were blocked. Mikoto felt her tongue was also captured by him. Although this wasn't the first time she kissed Wu Yin, her performance was still very awkward. Her tongue was passively led by Wu Yin. Since their lips had already moved, Wu Yin's hand naturally couldn't stop. His hands caressed Mikoto's clothes. Since he was aiming for Mikoto's outfit, Wu Yin obviously wouldn't take off her clothes. He only divided his hands into two and attacked the important parts. Feeling her important parts being controlled by the familiar temperature, Mikoto was so embarrassed that she moaned. Her lips couldn't help but leave Wu Yan's grasp. That won't do. This kind of sound not only didn't stop Wu Yan's actions, instead it ignited Wu Yan's fire. His movements didn't stop. Instead, he attacked faster. In an instant, the two soft semicircles on her upper and lower body fell into Wu Yan's devil's claws. Ah! Her hands involuntarily grabbed onto Wu Yan's hands. Perhaps she wanted to pull them away, but the strength in her hands was negligible. It didn't stop Wu Yan's movements. Through the clothes, he kneaded Mikoto's body like dough. Mikoto suddenly moaned, and her expression became more and more immersed. The light in her eyes was already starting to fade, even though he really likes Mikoto's maid outfit. But through the clothes, it's not very comfortable to touch. Thus, Wu Yan decisively broke up and slid into Mikoto's clothes through the gap between the clothes and grabbed that soft white rabbit that's constantly jumping. Wait! Feeling her body being caressed without any resistance, Mikoto subconsciously cried out. Her breathing became hurried. Now, even if Wu Yan didn't stop her, she probably wouldn't be able to escape in a short time. With one hand, he pinched Mikoto's apple that had grown a lot bigger thanks to him. With the other, he slipped his hand under Mikoto's maid dress and stroked it. You. Both hands clutching the skirt, Mikoto closed her eyes. Her cheeks were flushed red, so tender that it's almost dripping water. Her body trembled slightly, as if she's trying to hold back the pleasure in her body. His hand that's already slid into the skirt quickly felt another layer of resistance. Touching there, Wu Yan helplessly sighed. Why is it safety pants again? Hearing that, Mikoto immediately opened her eyes and glared at him. Her face was still red. Doing this kind of action is too cute. Plus that maid outfit, it's so cute. Well, safety pants it is. In any case, I still have to take them off. In the midst of Mikoto's screams, Wu Yan nimbly took off Mikoto's safety pants. Then, with a stretch of his hand, he took off the little cutie in the safety pants as well. Separating his hands, he pulled down Mikoto's maid attire. Instantly, a pair of delicate little bunnies jumped out, causing Mikoto to gasp in surprise. Mikoto, lie on the wall. Wu Yan whispered in Mikoto's ear. But it's not hard to hear that Wu Yan's breathing has become heavier. No, protecting her little white rabbits with both hands, Mikoto is still making her final resistance. But her resistance can only last for a short while. Soon, Mikoto is lying on the wall. Wu Yan excitedly grabbed Mikoto's waist and lifted her body up. Mikoto is little, but is facing Wu Yan's direction. Faintly, one can see the scenery under Mikoto's naked skirt. Posing in such a shameful position, Mikoto's heart is so embarrassed that she wants to die. The degree of humiliation is even worse than that time in the movie theater. But when Wu Yan enters the zone, he's invincible. When Mikoto enters the zone, she'll also turn into a soft girl. One hard and one soft. Naturally, the hard one wins, and the soft one has no power to resist. Five-finger mountain climbed up to the butt position, removing the last cover. The enemy's gate is right in front of them. Our spearmen are already waiting at the gate. The spearmen were like a hot knife through butter as they forced their way into the enemy's gates. When the spearmen forced their way into the city, the enemy let out a cry of defeat. Their final struggle was crushed by the spearmen's strength. Lying on Mikoto's back, Wu Yan's hands are holding two little white rabbits. He's pinching and squeezing them. Mikoto's head is raised and moaning. Following Wu Yan's movements, moaning sounds keep coming out. Who would have thought that Tokuwadai's ace, Academy City's number 3, Railgun's Misaka Mikoto, the Misaka-sama in Tokuwadai's mouths, is currently being conquered by a man in her own dorm. Moaning sounds, begging for mercy, echoes in this room. There's still a lot of time. Chapter 197. Lying on Mikoto's bed, Wu Yan lightly breathed out. His face is flushed with pleasure. The only thing missing is the word satisfied written on his face. His entire body is numb. Mikoto is lying on top of Wu Yan's body. Her face is flushed, her eyes are blurred. Her face is pressed against Wu Yan's chest. Her mouth is opening and closing as if she's kissing Wu Yan's skin. It can be seen that Mikoto still hasn't recovered from the previous lovemaking. At this time, The maid outfit on Mikoto's body has already been pushed up to her waist. If you don't look at it, Mikoto is in a naked state. Their bodies are intertwined in a very ambiguous position. But it's not strange. After all, Wu Yan's doppelganger is still inside Mikoto's body. Caressing Mikoto's soft back, he felt that today's trip was worth it just for this hand-to-hand fight scene. Exhaling, Mikoto finally regained her senses. Feeling the restlessness of Wu Yan's body and her current position, her flushed face became redder. Raising her head to glare at Wu Yan, Mikoto twisted her body. Resisting the electric current from Wu Yan's doppelganger, she shyly moaned. Why? Why aren't you getting out? Mikoto's twisting almost made Wu Yan lose control again. Hugging Mikoto's body tightly, Wu Yan thrusted a few times. Mikoto's moans were all blocked. Her moans turned into soft gasps. Mikoto, you're getting more and more mesmerizing. Hugging Mikoto's body, Wu Yan said while thrusting. At the same time, he felt the pleasure of Mikoto's body. In. No. In. Don't. Ugh. Come. Oof. Her body moved with Wu Yan's thrusts. Mikoto, who no longer has the strength to cooperate, can only look at Wu Yan in a daze and beg for mercy. Of course, these begging sounds were already heard before. Oh, Wu Yan didn't listen to her. A woman on the bed should listen to the opposite. Wu Yan faithfully carried out this rule. Without holding back, he tossed the body on top of him and enjoyed to his heart's content. But Mikoto, I still want more. Don't. Mikoto was already weak. She moaned while saying, later, and in. There's still. Ugh. Performance? Wu Yan stopped what he was doing and slapped his head. He almost forgot that Mikoto still has a violin performance to perform. Wu Yan stopped what he was doing, and Mikoto finally had a chance to catch her breath. Her breaths were intermittent. Midsummer festival. I want to go on stage. So, he helplessly nodded. Since Mikoto still wants to perform, there's no point in continuing this scene. Although it's a bit of a pity, Wu Yan already enjoyed himself to the fullest. At most, he'll find another chance to play again. After all, he still has a set of maids in his interspatial ring. Wu Yan lifted Mikoto up and straddled her. Once again, he tossed Mikoto's body. As the moans continued, Wu Yan said, Then Mikoto, you have to do your best. If you mess up, there'll be punishment. What else can Mikoto say? She could only moan and nod her head with difficulty and beg for mercy. Otherwise, she really won't have the strength to go on stage. However, with Wu Yan's interruption, Mikoto's nervousness about going on stage flew out of her head. It's not a bad thing. After tossing a few more times, Wu Yan really didn't want it to end like this. So he used all his strength and pounded Mikoto's soul out of her body, making her unable to control herself. Even if it ends, it'll have to wait until after this. When Wu Yan and Mikoto arrived at the cafeteria, Chuju immediately noticed them. She grumbled at them. Where did you guys go? If you didn't come back, we would have gone looking for you. Wu Yan scratched his head and smiled. Well, don't mind us. We just want to play a game. We're back now. When she heard Wu Yan say game, Mikoto, who was still thinking about what happened in the dorm, blushed again. But when she saw the mountainous pile of plates in front of Astria, she felt awkward again. You're a glutton as always, Astria. Wu Yan laughed dryly and sighed helplessly. Thank goodness I have enough gold coins. Otherwise, I don't know how I'm going to feed this angel. Chuju curled her lips in disdain and pointed in a direction. Astria's place is nothing. Look over there, that's the real deal. Everyone looked at where Hinajiku was pointing. When they saw the scene, they were shocked. If Astria's pile was as big as a mountain, then that pile was as big as 10 mountains. Mikoto looked at the table over there and then at Astria's table. Her mouth twitched. That's really nothing. As for Wu Yan, who is standing at the side, he is completely speechless with an awkward expression. If he wasn't mistaken, the person buried under the plates is a little girl with long silver hair, wearing a nun's habit. Wu Yan found out the truth of the matter when he saw the hedgehog head sweating profusely at the side. I didn't expect you to be so free, Misaka Mikoto. At this time, an unusually low female voice entered everyone's ears. Everyone who was stuck in the world of plates was stunned. When they looked towards the source of the voice, they were stunned again. Wu Yin frowned. You are? Mikoto hesitated for a moment. She looked at the strange girl who looked like someone owed her money. Misaka Mikoto, Tokuwadai's railgun, Academy City's number 3. You don't know me, but I know you very well. Standing in front of the crowd, the girl wearing a blue one-piece school uniform said. The girl had a head of slightly curly blue hair that reached her shoulders. Her face was tense, and her eyes were like the eyes of a fish. She looked like she didn't care about anything. Mikoto frowned when she heard the girl's words. She had a feeling this girl didn't come looking for her for a simple reason. Who exactly are you? We can talk about this later. Right now, I have something more important to tell you. The girl glanced at Wu Yin, Hinajiku, and the others. Her intention is clear. She's going to leave this place. What is it? Can't you just say it? Chuju looked at the girl. She didn't feel any danger, but she was still a stranger. It was better to be cautious. The girl glanced at Chuju and turned to Mikoto. This is very important. I hope you can come with me. Mikoto hesitated for a moment. Just as she was about to go up, Wu Yin suddenly spoke up. No need. Just say it here. There's nothing to hide. Nabinaga. Nabinaga's expression finally changed. She looked at Wu Yin in surprise. You know me? I have a rough idea. Wu Yin took 2 steps forward and shook Mikoto's hand. Mikoto took a step back. She knew Wu Yin was someone she could entrust her life to. Wu Yin smiled at Mikoto, and then he looked at Fushu Toshinabu with a serious expression. Fushu Toshinabu, since you're here looking for Mikoto, I'm guessing it has something to do with the sisters? This time, Bushu Jushin's expression could no longer be described with the word change. Instead, it was shock. You know about the sisters? I'm not the only one. Everyone knows about it. So just say it. Wu Yin said vaguely. Nabinaga looked at Mikoto, Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria, who stopped eating. It seems that you all really know. Bushu Ishin furrowed his brows tightly before relaxing them. Since you all know about it, and Misaka Mikoto seems to know about it as well, I'm sure you all know about the sisters being kidnapped and the plan being frozen, right? Then I'll be frank. The Absolute Aptitude Evolution Plan has been activated again. Chapter 198. That's impossible. Wu Yan's first reaction was to smile. Even though he's smiling, his heart sank because he knows who this Fukuoka is. Fukuoka is responsible for half of the sisters' current state of mind. Fukuoka was the one who gave the sisters their current mindset. That's why Wu Yin wouldn't believe it if someone else said it. But since it's Fukuoka, he has to believe it. Mikoto doesn't know who Fukuoka is, but she heard the words Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Plan clearly. She panicked when she heard that this nightmarish plan was restarted. Are you telling the truth? Tell me. Mikoto yelled. If it wasn't for Wu Yin and the others, she wouldn't be able to hold herself back and grab Fukuoka's collar. Grabbing Mikoto's hand, Wu Yin pulled her to his side and consoled her. Mikoto, don't panic. Let's hear what she has to say first. Yin. Mikoto looked at Wu Yin worriedly. She nodded and backed away. Her eyes were glued to Tashin's body. She didn't look away at all. Fukuoka looked at everything coldly until Mikoto calmed down. Then she looked at Wu Yin. Looks like Misaka Mikoto trusts you a lot. Wu Yin smiled but didn't say anything. He asked in a low voice, Can you tell me what's going on? Why is the Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Plan restarted? Clearly, there are very few sisters left, and they can't support the plan at all, right? Toshinabu gave Wu Yin a deep look. She's very confused. How did this young man know so much about such a highly confidential matter? The plan itself is the same. The sisters are also the same. Also about the sisters being kidnapped. Actually, I don't know why. Fukuoka thought for a while and said. Her voice was flat, but it wasn't hard to hear the helplessness in it. I don't know why. Hearing this, Wu Yin couldn't help but frown. He didn't know why this plan that couldn't produce a result was actually started again. What was going on? Could it be Alistair's idea again? If that was the case, then what exactly was he planning? Seeing Wu Yan's distressed face, Mikoto couldn't help but feel a bit of heartache. It was all because of her fault that she came up with this plan, and Wu Yin not only brought her hope of salvation, but also put in a lot of effort for her sisters. Mikoto knew that all of this was for her sake. Mikoto's lips curled into a smile as she held onto Wu Yan's hand. A pair of tea-colored eyes met with Wu Yan's. There was an unprecedented gentleness in them. Wu Yan was almost sucked in by her gentle brown eyes. After all, Mikoto had never looked at him with such eyes before. Of course, this gentleness didn't last long. Mikoto turned her head away embarrassedly. Her cheeks were a bit red. Wu Yan found it funny. Mikoto looked at Fukuoka and hesitated for a while before asking softly, why are you telling me this?" Fukuoka went silent. She didn't answer Mikoto's question and instead looked at Wu Yan. "Originally, I had a plan. I wanted to give the sisters mature thoughts and use their own resistance to the experiment to stop it. However, the hunter who suddenly appeared took the sisters away. I don't know what method he used, but the sisters were cut off from the Misaka network's data transmission. I lost track of the sisters' whereabouts, so this plan could only be buried deep." Hunter? Hunter is the code name given by the higher-ups of Academy City to the culprit who took the sisters away. Since they had no way of knowing the culprit's identity and whereabouts, they gave him the code name Hunter. Wu Yan could only smile bitterly. Fukuoka saw Wu Yan's bitter smile, and for the first time, she smiled peacefully and changed her tone. "Originally, I was worried about what the hunter would do to the sisters and what his goal was, but now..." Fukuoka stared at Wu Yan and said, "I'm not worried anymore. I think the hunter wouldn't hurt them." He was exposed. Wu Yan helplessly shrugged. He didn't have any objections to Fukuoka. Even though she participated in the Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Project experiment, she regretted it later, didn't she? She even wanted to save the sisters because of the guilt in her heart. So Wu Yan didn't have the intention to hide it from her and said with a smile, "Yeah, the hunter would never hurt them." Fukuoka smiled as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. She then looked at Wu Yan with a heavy gaze. If the hunter wants to take the sisters away, he must be careful of one person. Wu Yan squinted his eyes when he heard Fukuoka's words. "Accelerator?" "Yes," Fukuoka nodded. "Accelerator, although I haven't met him before, I heard that he is very concerned about the problem of strength. The hunter took the sisters away. It could be said that the hunter is trying to limit his evolution. Accelerator will never let this go." Fukuoka paused for a while before she continued. "Besides, there is a high chance that he will participate in the operation to capture the hunter." Wu Yan closed his eyes and smiled. "Well, it's only a matter of time before we meet." Fukuoka was stunned. "Aren't you afraid?" "Afraid?" Wu Yan glanced at the people around him. "There's Mikoto, Chuju, Ikaros, Astria. With them around, I will never be afraid, not even if that Birdman comes." Wu Yan's tone was filled with confidence and decisiveness. Fukuoka went silent for a while before she said helplessly, "Then, I can only wish you good luck." Bushu's letter left. Everyone looked at her back and stood there in a daze. They seemed to be digesting the news Bushu's letter brought. Only they knew what they were thinking. "Yin, tell us, what should we do?" Chuju's voice broke the silence. Ikaros and Astria looked at Wu Yan. Even Mikoto did the same. Mikoto squeezed Wu Yan's hand and said seriously, "This time, don't think about doing it alone." Wu Yan nodded with a bitter smile. "Even if I want to do it alone, I won't be able to last until the end. So don't worry, there will be a time when you will come in handy." Wu Yan pondered for a bit after that. "The most important thing right now is to know the specifics of the restart of the Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Project. For example, information and the planned experimental grounds. Ikaros, you're better at this, so I'll have to trouble you to hack into their database and get the specifics." "Yes, Master." Ikaros didn't even hesitate and agreed. For her, Wu Yan is already her absolute master. Wu Yan chuckled when he saw the storm brewing on everyone's faces. "Of course, we'll have to wait until we get back. For now, let's enjoy the Midsummer Festival." "Agreed." Astria was the first to raise her hand. She returned to the dining table at the speed of light and continued to munch on her food, making everyone sweat. Seeing that Makoto was still a little concerned, Wu Yin said softly, "All right, don't think too much. Even if the absolute aptitude evolution plan is restarted, the worst-case scenario is the sisters dying. At that time, we'll just revive them. With the genetic life supplement, there won't be a problem." Makoto glanced at Wu Yin and nodded. Her expression relaxed. She's still a bit worried, but at least it's not like he's going to die, right? Compared to this, you should think about how to handle your performance on stage. Wu Yin shook his head with a smile and said meaningfully, "If you don't perform well, you know what will happen to your dorm supervisor." Cold sweat covered Makoto's face. Chapter 199. The Midsummer Festival slowly came to an end with Makoto's elegant violin playing. When they left the Tokawadai dorm, Shokuho Misaki appeared. She didn't say anything. She just made a shooting pose at Wu Yin like she was aiming at her next target. Wu Yin broke out in cold sweat. The first thing Ikaros did when she got home was to hack into the Research Institute's database and steal information on the Absolute Aptitude Evolution Project. The Absolute Aptitude Evolution Project has been restarted, using the reason that even if the number isn't enough for the first one to reach LV6, it can still shorten the time needed for the first one to reach LV6. The remaining sisters are included in the project. What a lame excuse. But it's undeniable that the Absolute Aptitude Evolution Project has been restarted. This is an indisputable fact. Soon, the sisters will be hunted down again. Currently, the experiment was being reorganized. Once the reorganization was complete, the Absolute Ability User Evolution Project would begin. Such an outcome made everyone heave a sigh of relief. At least, there is still some time for everyone to prepare. Ikaros didn't just discover information about the Absolute Aptitude Evolution Plan. She also discovered information about 2 other plans. Although they're called projects, they're more like objectives. Wu Yin knows one of these objectives as well. It's for the higher-ups to reacquire Makoto's DNA in order to complete the Absolute Aptitude Evolution Project. If he could obtain Makoto's DNA before all of his sisters died, then the Absolute Aptitude Evolution Project would definitely continue. Even if they can't get Makoto's DNA before the sisters die, they'll continue with the Absolute Aptitude Evolution Project. So now, other than saving the sisters, Wu Yin and the rest have an additional mission, and that's to protect Makoto. With Alistair's methods, even if Makoto doesn't want to provide her DNA, he'll still do it in a roundabout way. Those guys who came to Wu Yin for help were just a small trick. In the original work, Makoto was useless to Alistair other than providing him with DNA and a bit of combat power. But here, she's basically the center of the storm. Of course, with Makoto's current strength, Accelerator wouldn't be able to do anything to her even if he wanted to. It's possible to defeat her, but to kill her like in the original, that's impossible. What Wu Yin had to guard against was only Alistair's secret methods, as well as Alistair's strongest fighter, Awaz. As for the other objective, Wu Yin was more or less surprised. It was the operation to capture the hunter. However, this was to be expected. After all, he had almost ruined Alistair's plan. It would be strange if Alistair allowed him to do as he pleased in his territory. If it weren't for the fact that a large number of his sisters were still in his hands, he might have killed them instead of capturing them. With the restarting of the Aptitude User Evolution Project, the higher-ups will definitely try to get their hands on Makoto's DNA as soon as possible. Wu Yin thought that the people who came looking for him back then would have news soon. All the troublesome matters had quietly descended at this moment, including the trouble that appeared in front of Wu Yin. Long time no see. Little Yin. Wu Yin looked at Shokuho Misaki standing outside his door. She was looking at him with sparkling eyes. She seemed to be very happy to greet him. He had the urge to close the door. "I say, Jusuma." Wu Yin looked at Shokuho Misaki strangely and forced a smile. "I think I made myself very clear the other day. You came looking for me at this time. Do you really want to join my Crystal Palace? Era, don't tell me you don't welcome me." Shokuho Misaki cupped her face with her hands and looked at Wu Yin shyly. Her words made his body tremble. Something's wrong. That was Wu Yin's first thought after hearing Shokuho Misaki's words. Jusama. Wu Yin looked at Shokuho Misaki cautiously and said with a headache, I really don't know what you see in me. You can't say that, Shokuho Misaki smiled shyly. Little Yin is a very good man. Wu Yin shuddered when he heard that. He got goosebumps all over his body. To be honest, even he himself couldn't figure out where this excellent came from. Hey, Little Yin, let's not talk about this. Shokuho Misaki changed her tone and suddenly walked up to Wu Yin and hugged his arm. She laughed and said, Let's go on a date. Feeling Shokuho Misaki's soft body on his arm, Wu Yan's mouth twitched. Why is this happening? You can guess what's going on? Shameless woman. Let go of Yin. Mikoto looked at Shokuho Misaki, who was smiling sweetly on the other side. Her brown eyes were filled with anger. When did you get here? Wu Yin looked up at the sky and sighed. Logically speaking, having two women in each arm should be a very good thing. However, Wu Yin didn't feel that way. He only felt like he was being cheated. How many times are you two going to do this, Jusama? Wu Yin sighed and complained. Can you stop playing around? I'm serious about going on a date with you. I'm not playing around. Shokuho Misaki turned her head away in dissatisfaction. As for how much of her expression was genuine, that remains to be seen. You woman. Mikoto was about to explode. You already know about my relationship with Yin, yet you keep coming here to seduce him. What the hell are you planning? Misaki. Shokuho Misaki looked at Wu Yin with resentment. Wu Yin felt goosebumps all over his body. She then said to Mikoto, Misaka-san, you're willing to share your man with other women. Why are you so against me? They're different from you. Mikoto said without hesitation. Chuju and the others aren't as bad as you. Shokuho Misaki blinked and said something that made Wu Yin and Mikoto almost vomit blood. I'm so innocent. How can you say I'm bad? You're so innocent. Wu Yin and Mikoto's eyebrows twitched. Shokuho Misaki acted like she didn't see it and looked at Wu Yin. Little Yin, let's just ignore this middle school student and go on a date. Beep. Electric current started jumping around. It's obvious that Jusama's words hurt Mikoto greatly. In a blink of an eye, the two girls were in a new round of arguing. Wu Yan's ears were ravaged by the two girls. His head almost exploded. Why am I the unluckiest one every time? Is it because I didn't vote when I was reading? Is this karma? Looking at Jusama's smiling face, Wu Yan's heart was filled with resentment. It's all because of this girl. Shokuho Misaki, who was in the middle of arguing with Mikoto, suddenly froze. Her face was filled with disbelief. She slowly turned her head around like a machine and looked at Wu Yan's calm face. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she said with difficulty, What did I do? Wu Yan looked at Shokuho Misaki innocently. Shokuho Misaki almost went berserk. As for Mikoto, she was puzzled. What is this girl up to now? Seeing Mikoto's puzzled expression, Shokuho Misaki gritted her teeth and glared at Wu Yan. She said word by word, I don't do. Is that so? Then that's good. Wu Yan showed a brilliant smile, which made Shokuho Misaki want to punch him. Wu Yan ignored Shokuho Misaki's expression and stood there calmly. One of his hands was kneading Shokuho Misaki's buttocks from an angle that no one could see. He praised her in his heart. As expected of the pampered Tokuwadai milady, Queen Shokuho Misaki, this feeling. Chapter 201. Since you're not willing to give up your blood sample, then I'll have to take it myself. Kakin Taidaku's tone was very calm when he said this. It was as if his next opponent wasn't Railgun, who was only one rank lower than him, but LVL 0 powerless. Kakin Taidaku didn't put Mikoto in his eyes at all. Even though Mikoto's ranking was only one place lower than his, but with his dark matter, he dared to challenge Accelerator, who was in first place, let alone third place. Indeed, if Mikoto was still the Mikoto from Academy City, then even if she was only level 68, which was only one rank lower than the current Kakin Taidaku, with the dark matter's infinite possibilities, Mikoto would still be no match for him. But now it's different. The current Mikoto was no longer level 68, but level 70, tier 8. Even if Accelerator was here, he might not be able to do anything to the current Mikoto let alone the retarded accelerator, who was killed in the end. Wu Yin looked at Kakin Taidaku with pity in his eyes. He knew that with Makoto's personality, Kakin Taidaku had thoroughly angered her. Even if Makoto didn't kill him, this Kakin Taidaku wouldn't have it easy. Facing the impending battle, Makoto's expression was calm, as if the angry person wasn't her. She looked at Kakin Taidaku with the same calm expression. Shokuho Misaki had been quietly watching the whole thing unfold without saying a word. With her ability in mind, she had already guessed the whole story. Even if it wasn't much, it wasn't too far off. Even if it wasn't much, it wasn't too far off. Shokuho Misaki turned around and looked at the smiling Wu Yin. She asked curiously, "Aren't you worried about your little girlfriend? You know, the opponent is the second strongest person in Academy City, other than the first. Your little girlfriend is no match for him." Wu Yin glanced at Shokuho Misaki and shrugged. "I think, instead of worrying about Makoto, it's better to worry about that Birdman." "Oh." Shokuho Misaki looked at the two of them with interest, and then said to Wu Yin, "You have so much confidence in your little girlfriend. Just watch quietly and you'll know." Wu Yin smiled and looked at Makoto. There's a hint of absent-mindedness in his eyes. She's no longer the Misaka Makoto of the past. The soft whisper made Shokuho Misaki's body tremble slightly. She suddenly remembered the first time she met Wu Yin and what Wu Yin said to her. "Maybe you think I'm talking big, but what I want to say is Makoto is destined to not stay in a small place like Tokawadai. She has a bigger world waiting for her. That's where she will shine. A bigger world." Shokuho Misaki mumbled, looking at Makoto. The stars in her eyes are twinkling. Who knows what she's thinking on the stage? Kakin Taidaku looked down at Makoto with contempt. He slowly opened his mouth and said, "Number 3, do you know what my ability is?" Without waiting for Makoto to answer, Kakin Taidaku continued, "My ability is called dark matter. Its purpose is to create new substances. It doesn't refer to substances that have yet to be discovered. It refers to substances that don't exist in this world to begin with, and I can set all the physical and chemical properties of these substances." "Do you know what this means?" The more he spoke, the wider the smile on Kakin Taidaku's face, the more disdainful he looked at Makoto. "This means that I, who can create new substances and give them the physical and chemical properties of dark matter, have a lot of ways to nullify your electric shocks. Your ability to manipulate electricity is useless against my dark matter." Kakin Taidaku said proudly to Makoto, "How are you going to fight me like this?" Makoto didn't say anything. She remained silent. It's like the calm before the storm. It's very oppressive. Kakin Taidaku didn't know what Makoto was thinking after hearing his words, but it's undeniable that Makoto's calm demeanor made him feel pressured. On the other side, Wu Yin and Shokuho Misaki heard Kakin Taidaku's words. They both gasped in surprise at the power of dark matter. Kakin Taidaku is indeed the strongest ability user after Accelerator. He can create substances at will, even if they don't exist in this world. But to be able to touch upon the field of creation, even if it's just a little, it's already extraordinary. Kakin Taidaku, who had the dark elemental substance, was like a golden armament that only a golden armament of the 9th stage was qualified to wear. Even if a Tier 8 fighter with a gold armament can't win against a Tier 9 fighter, but in the realm of Tier 8, he's at the pinnacle. Just like Ikaros, she's invincible within Tier 8. And Kakin Taidaku with dark matter is the same. In the realm of Tier 7, he's at the pinnacle of the pinnacle. It's no wonder that even an idiot like Accelerator would be fooled by him. Even Mujino Shizuri, who's only 2 tiers lower than Kakin Taidaku, was almost beaten to a pulp by him in the original work. Kakin Taidaku does have the qualifications to be arrogant. Of course, it's only in the realm of Tier 7. Beep beep beep. Blue and white electricity, ferociously flowing on Makoto's body. Tokawadai's school uniform danced from the flow of electricity, the electricity illuminating Makoto's body. It also illuminated Makoto's face. The electricity circled around Makoto's body. Then, under Makoto's control, the electric gun shot out towards Kakin Taidaku, who's flying in the sky. Kakin Taidaku turned a blind eye to Mikoto's taser gun. His wings fluttered and rolled up like a spider's legs, blocking Kakin Taidaku's front from the attack. The electric shock spear struck the wings of the dark matter. The electric current circled around the wings before it was extinguished into nothingness. The wings automatically returned to their original position, and Kakin Taidaku's face reappeared in front of everyone. He cracked a smile. "Your ability is useless. It's not too late to regret now. I just need a little blood sample." Looking at the unharmed Kakin Taidaku in the sky, Mikoto didn't answer him. Instead, she used her actions to prove herself. She closed her eyes, then opened them again. The electricity around her body surged. Her computing power was fully activated. The ear-piercing sound of electricity rang in Kakin Taidaku's ears like glass, causing him to feel pain in his ears. Mikoto's body was surrounded by a large amount of electricity. Her bangs fluttered even though there was no wind, making her look like the god of thunder. The original bluish-white electric current had become much brighter at this moment. Moreover, it was faintly silvery white. Seeing this, Kakin Taidaku's pupils shrunk. His eyes hurt from the bright electricity, and he couldn't help but close them. Shokuho Misaki, who was beside him, was also shocked. They could feel that at this moment, Mikoto had become even stronger. Only Wu Yan's lips curled into a smile. His eyes flashed with excitement as he looked at Mikoto. Mikoto is finally going all out. If Mikoto lowered her head and looked at Kakin Taidaku with her electrified face and said softly, "If your ability is what gives you the right to do whatever you want." Mikoto took out a small token from her pocket and placed it in her hand. Countless electric currents surged towards Mikoto's token, forming a small white dot. At the same time, she raised her hand towards Kakin Taidaku. "Let me destroy it." Chapter 202. Light. Between heaven and earth, only light remained. The lightning moved at an unimaginable speed towards the token in the owner's hand. The small token glowed with a bluish-white light, and the powerful aura changed the direction of the wind. In terms of physical strength, Shokuho Misaki's combat power is only at 5%. The strong wind blew her voluptuous body left and right. If it wasn't for the distance between them, she would have been blown away. Shokuho Misaki's eyes widened in disbelief as she raised her hand in front of her face to block the dust that was about to hit her face. What the hell is going on? How did Misaka Mikoto become so strong? That was the only thought running through Shokuho Misaki's mind. Shokuho Misaki was familiar with Mikoto, and she was certain that Mikoto wasn't this strong in the past. At this moment, Shokuho Misaki suddenly remembered what Wu Yan said earlier. She looked towards Wu Yan's direction with great difficulty. Soon, Wu Yan's calm and smiling face entered Shokuho Misaki's vision. Is it because of him? Only Shokuho Misaki knew what was going on in her mind. However, Kakin Taidaku's thoughts were obvious because his thoughts were written all over his face. Crossing his arms in front of him in a defensive posture, Kakin Taidaku's face was filled with disbelief. It was as if he was deceived by the whole world. Kakin Taidaku screamed madly in his heart as he looked at the petite figure below him that was emitting a terrifying aura that made him tremble uncontrollably. This is impossible. After a moment of disbelief, Kakin Taidaku's face was completely twisted with madness. Looking at his trembling hands, Kakin Taidaku looked at Mikoto. At this moment, another figure appeared in front of Kakin Taidaku's eyes. White hair, red eyes, and dressed in a striped prison uniform. He was as thin as a match. The man who made Kakin Taidaku tremble in fear for the first time in his life. Now, the people were different. However, the same thing was happening again. In Kakin Taidaku's eyes, the girl with tea-colored hair and tea eyes seemed to be a white-haired demon with red eyes. Then, in Kakin Taidaku's eyes, they gradually merged into one. This kind of thing, how is that possible? The fear in Kakin Taidaku's heart had completely crushed his rationality. He roared madly, and the 3 pairs of wings on his back flapped violently. Instantly, a white beam of light shot out from the wings. Mikoto looked at the beam of light that was getting closer and closer to her, but she ignored it. She raised the coin in her hand and aimed it at the beam of light, at the crazed Kikin Taidaku behind it. When the white light beam was only a centimeter away from Mikoto, the orange light beam dispelled the white part of the light beam. The white light beam was torn apart in an instant. A thick orange light beam tore through the white light beam and shot towards Kikin Taidaku at a speed not visible to the naked eye. Like a meteor streaking across the sky, the railgun landed on Kikin Taidaku's body with a powerful force. Boom! The railgun that could penetrate anything in its path landed on Kikin Taidaku's body. Instead, the sound of a missile exploding was heard. In a blink of an eye, the area where Kikin Taidaku was standing was shrouded in black smoke. His figure could no longer be seen clearly. All that was left was the orange light of the super railgun, leaving behind a tiny orange light. Mikoto lightly brushed her bangs with her hand that was glowing with blue and white lightning. She snorted lightly. Her brown eyes had a trace of satisfaction. She seemed to be very happy that the railgun shone again. Shokuho Misaki stared blankly at the heroic Mikoto in the center of the battlefield. She, who had always been against her, was now immersed in her opponent's railgun that lit up the sky. She couldn't regain her senses for a long time. Wu Yin, on the other hand, had an excited smile on his face. No matter how many times he watched Mikoto use the railgun, he still couldn't get enough of it. In the sky, a corner of the area that was shrouded in smoke suddenly protruded out. A battered and exhausted figure with tattered clothes flapped 3 pairs of equally tattered wings and rushed out. He fled into the distance with all his might. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from everyone's line of sight. She still went easy on him. Looking at Mikoto, who was walking towards him, Wu Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of helplessness. But it will only last for a moment. If Mikoto really did kill that almighty second brother, Wu Yan would be more surprised. Misaka, Mikoto. Shokuho Misaki looked at Mikoto seriously, as if she was getting to know her all over again. She then turned her attention to Wu Yan. Looking at the helpless expression on Wu Yan's face, Shokuho Misaki thought of something and a smile appeared on her face. She looked like a little girl who just saw candy. Things are getting more and more interesting. Academy City, School District 7, inside the windowless building, in the strange space. The strange and surprising figure was still floating in the liquid that seemed to be nourishing him in an omnipotent and unchanging manner. He was gently floating in the liquid that seemed to be nourishing him. In front of Alistair, there was also a floating screen. Alistair, as usual, was doing his job as a voyeur. On the screen, there was the scene of Kikin Taidaku appearing in front of Mikoto, the scene of Mikoto rejecting Kikin Taidaku's request, the scene of them clashing, the scene of Mikoto's electrocution being ineffective, the scene of Kikin Taidaku mocking Mikoto. Of course, there was also the scene of Mikoto using her railgun to kill Kikin Taidaku. After Kikin Taidaku ran away and Mikoto walked towards Shokuho Misaki, Alistair turned off the screen in front of him and went into deep thought. If Shokuho Misaki, Mikoto, or Kikin Taidaku were here, they would realize that the scene was exactly the same as what happened to them. The only thing missing is Wu Yan's figure. Perhaps in this silent space, there was someone who couldn't stand it anymore. Unable to bear the loneliness, he began to make his own voice, breaking the silence of this space. Your calculations have been negated. Alistair didn't say anything. He knew what the owner of the voice was talking about. A chess piece jumping out of your plan. In my memory, this is the first time something like this happened to you, right? Amidst the noise, a male or female voice rang out again. This time, Alistair finally reacted. It's not really jumping out of my plan. Misaka Mikoto is still within my calculations, but the plan needs to be changed. A chess piece will always be a chess piece, as expected of you. The owner of the voice said this. It's hard to tell if it's a sarcastic comment, or maybe it's nothing. When Alistair heard this, he immediately closed his eyes. Only his calm voice still echoed in this space. No, The railgun wasn't part of my plan in the first place. Misaka Makoto herself was just a part of the plan. Her mission was to provide the DNA to complete my plan. What about now? The chaotic voice said again. No matter what, the opponent has more or less exceeded your expectations, right? Alistair opened his eyes. There was no anger in them, only calm and tranquility. The railgun is still a chess piece. Oh, the owner of the voice seemed to be interested. Has he turned from worthless to a pawn that can be used? This time, Alistair had nothing to say. Misaka Makoto's ability has indeed exceeded his expectations. Ability assessment was a secret assessment made by Academy City to determine the potential of a person's superpower development. It meant that the moment a person was born, the extent of their superpower development was already predetermined. Just like Makoto, her attainment assessment was LV5. But now, Makoto's ability had completely shattered her quality judgment. Chapter 203. The owner of the messy voice knew about the accomplishment judgment as well. It could be said that as long as Alistair knew about it, there was nothing she didn't know. However, the owner of the voice didn't know what Alistair was thinking. After all, he was stronger than Alistair, but in terms of intelligence, the owner of the voice had never met anyone who could surpass the person in front of him who had been with him for a long time. That's why when Alistair fell silent, the owner of the voice knew that Alistair must be thinking about something. Thus, the owner of the voice also fell silent. Alistair recalled the day when the first Misaka's sister was stolen. Ever since that day, his plan that had never deviated from its original plan was messed up. The theft of the Misaka sisters was the first time in his life that he had miscalculated. Inside Academy City, no one could escape his control. Because of the existence of the hovering loop, Alistair was able to control every single change in the city. On the other hand, the disappearance of Misaka's sister had completely destroyed Alistair's confidence in the hovering loop. With Alistair's personality, of course, he would not be angry about it. Instead, it was a harsh reminder. It reminded him not to rely on the hovering loop too much. Since then, Alistair had gradually organized an effective intelligence network. Combined with the hovering loop that had not diminished in function, he had once again brought everything that happened in Academy City into his control. He thought that, with his calculations, his plan would be back on track soon. Who would have thought that Misaka Makoto's strength would once again exceed his expectations? Alistair realized that ever since the disappearance of the first Misaka's sister, everything seemed to be revolving around a central point and gradually changing, as long as he could control that central point. Recalling the series of events that didn't make sense, Alistair closed his eyes again. The hunter. At the same time, in the sky above Academy City, a shocking piece of news suddenly appeared on the screen of the floating airship that had never been seen descending. Makoto's picture appeared on the screen of the airship. Beside it was a message: Academy City's third-ranked railgun, Misaka Makoto, has won the battle against Academy City's second-ranked dark matter, Kakim Taitaku. From today onwards, Academy City's LVL5 ranking has been reorganized. Super Railgun, Misaka Makoto, has risen to second place. Kakim Taitaku, the dark matter, fell to third place. When this message appeared on the screen of the floating airship and was seen by everyone in Academy City, the entire city was in an uproar. The super electromagnetic gun had risen from third to second place. The impact of this matter was not small, especially to those who were in the dark and knew about the accomplishment judgment. This was like a heavy bomb to them. It bombarded them until their minds went blank. Misaka Makoto, who was supposed to be third place and unable to surpass the first two, suddenly broke the judgment of accomplishment judgment and tree diagram designer. He had overturned his own estimation. What did it mean to overturn the judgment of accomplishment? This meant that the so-called trash that they had treated as ants and casually abandoned in the past was very likely a mistake. As for those white mice that they treated as treasures and studied every day, it was very likely that they would become a huge flaw in their research. The research that revolved around the topic of ability would be beaten black and blue. And in Academy City, wasn't the topic of ability the most important topic? All the research related to accomplishment judgment and the use of accomplishment judgment would all be overturned. How could the scholars who had become famous because of this research and were currently researching it not go crazy? Of course, all of this only happened in the dark side of Academy City. On the bright side of Academy City, where hard work is the key to improving one's ability, there wasn't as much of a commotion. Other than Tokawadai. On this day in Tokawadai, Mikoto's picture was hung all over the screens and walls of the school. The girls of Tokawadai were also celebrating their trump card becoming the strongest existence in the entire Academy City other than the number one. Those Missy who already had a crush on Mikoto to begin with fell even deeper into the trap now. Strangely enough, Tokawadai's other LV5, Shokuho Misaki, seemed to be acting strangely regarding the fact that Mikoto had become the second most influential person in Tokawadai. Shokuho Misaki, who viewed Misaka Mikoto as her greatest rival, was actually acting like she didn't care at all. Shokuho Misaki, who was usually in charge of the Queen's faction, suddenly acted like she didn't care at all. As for why this happened, only Shokuho Misaki herself knows the answer to that question. Academy City, School District 7, Wuyan's house. Cheers. Wuyan, Mikoto, Chuju, Ikaros, Astria, Kuriko, Ruko, and Wiharu gathered together and raised their drinks and clinked them together. Misaka-senpai, congratulations on becoming number 2. Ruko said to Mikoto in high spirits. Wiharu, beside her, also smiled happily. It was obvious that they were really happy about Mikoto's ranking. Thank you. Mikoto rubbed her head embarrassedly. Wu Yin was speechless. She was the one who wanted to celebrate her ranking. Humph. With One-Isama's ability, becoming number 2 is only a matter of time. Kuriko proudly put her hands on her hips. For someone who likes Mikoto the most, she was the happiest one here. The second place is only temporary. Soon, One-Isama will defeat the first place and become the strongest metahuman in Academy City. Kuriko clenched her fists in anticipation. Her eyes were filled with stars as she looked at Mikoto in a daze. Ah, One-Isama, my beautiful and powerful One-Isama, please allow me, Kuriko, to use my loving embrace to express my excitement. After that, Kuriko disappeared and reappeared in Mikoto's arms. She hugged Mikoto's waist tightly and rubbed against Mikoto's chest that was slowly being developed by Wu Yan. Kuriko, let go of me. Being hugged by Kuriko in such a hurry in front of everyone, and even Wu Yan, Mikoto is both embarrassed and angry. She quickly grabbed Kuriko and pulled her away. The two of them started messing around, causing everyone to laugh. One has to say, Kuriko really has the ability to turn everything into a joke. Wu Yan looked at Kuriko messing around with Mikoto with a smile on his face, but he was deep in thought. Mikoto becoming number 2 is indeed a good thing, but at the same time, it also means that Alistair saw the fight between Kakin Taidaku and Mikoto. But then again, so be it. Mikoto was already the target of the public when the sisters were stolen and the DNA map was stolen by him. Now, it just made the situation even more chaotic. Perhaps he could even take advantage of this chaos to fish in troubled waters and rescue the rest of his sisters once and for all. Of course, that's a matter for the future. At this time, Wu Yan's phone suddenly rang, causing the noisy scene to go silent. This means that even though they were messing around, their attention was still on Wu Yan, including Kuriko, Wiharu, and Ruko. After all, he was the only male here. How could he not be noticed? Wu Yan smiled apologetically at everyone and took out his phone. He looked at the number on the screen and tilted his head in confusion. All the people he was familiar with were here. Who else would call him? And it's an unknown number. Confused, Wu Yan picked up the phone right under everyone's eyes. Hello. On the other side of the phone, when Wu Yan picked up the call, the person on the other side of the phone went silent. After a while, a very annoying voice came out. Young man, do you still remember me? Chapter 204. When he heard the voice on the other side of the phone, Wu Yan's eyes narrowed. Everyone looked at Wu Yan, who suddenly acted strangely, and looked at each other. Wu Yan does recognize this voice. The only person who would use such an annoying term like young man and have the same annoying voice is the one who came to him that day and asked him to take Mikoto's blood. That guy with the eyes. Seeing the doubts in the eyes of the girls, Wu Yan waved his hand to signal them to be quiet, and then pretended to be confused and said, "You? Who are you? Do I know you? Oh, young man, you forgot me so quickly. It seems that I didn't leave a deep impression on you that day. We have to find a chance to stop you again." After that, there was a burst of strange laughter, which made Wu Yan roll his eyes. Too good at pretending. Since the other party knows how to act, Wu Yan naturally knows how to act as well. He exclaimed in shock, "That look, it's so realistic. You were the guy with glasses that day." On the other side, when the guy with glasses heard Wu Yan's words, he seemed to be swallowed. He didn't know what to say, but he didn't tell him his identity. He couldn't let him know his identity, so he could only sullenly say, Yes, I'm the guy with glasses that day." Wu Yan secretly laughed twice and then hesitantly said with a trembling voice, "Why are you looking for me?" The guy with glasses sneered twice. This time, his voice was really cold, which proved that he was a little angry in his heart. "Young man, you seem to have forgotten that you still owe me a favor." I didn't forget. I've always remembered it, really." Wu Yan shouted in panic, which made the guy with glasses think that Wu Yan was afraid. Only the girl sitting in front of Wu Yan could see that under Wu Yan's panicked expression, there was a smile in the corner of his mouth. "Is that so?" The guy with glasses deliberately dragged his words. "But why haven't we received any news about it yet? Did you really get Misaka Mikoto's blood?" Due to the silence in the room, the voice on the other end of the phone was exceptionally loud. Naturally, the words of the bespectacled man reached the ears of the women who were trying their best to eavesdrop, including Mikoto. She stood up with a swoosh. She looked at Wu Yan with a look of surprise. Her eyes are filled with all sorts of questions and suspicions. She no longer wanted to know the identity of the person on the other side of the phone, but if they were here for the blood in her body, then it could only be related to the Absolute Ability User Evolution Project. And if she didn't hear wrongly, that person seemed to be looking for Wu Yan to steal her blood, and Wu Yan seemed to have agreed. How could Mikoto not be confused? Of course, it was only a suspicion. If she suspected that Wu Yan was in cahoots with the other party, she would be the first to not believe it. It's just that Mikoto was too sensitive about wanting to steal her blood and DNA. Wu Yan quickly gestured for Mikoto to calm down. Mikoto sat down, but it was obvious that her face was a little pale. Another attempt to steal her blood. Since Mikoto heard it, the others naturally heard it too. As an insider, Chuju's expression turned serious. Astria didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Only Kuriko, Ruko, and Waharu's faces were filled with confusion. Wu Yan bitterly smiled. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have picked up the phone so openly. Mikoto and Chuju were fine. He didn't intend to hide it from them. But how should he deal with Kuriko and the other two? "I haven't gotten it yet. You should know that Mikoto is now the second in line. I'm just a powerless. How do you expect me to get her blood? That's none of our business," the bespectacled man rudely said. "How you do it is your business. We only want results." But Wu Yan deliberated over his words and carefully said, "Anyone would be suspicious if you say you want to take someone's blood for no reason." The bespectacled man snorted. "The reason I approached you was because I heard that you and Misaka Mikoto seem to be quite close. With your relationship, the chances of you obtaining Misaka Mikoto's blood is very high. And if you can't complete the mission, even though they were separated by a phone, Wu Yan could hear the underlying threat. It's nothing more than being useless and getting rid of him." This tone made Wu Yan very unhappy. He could only suppress his displeasure and act like a movie king once again. "You give me some time? You don't have much time." The bespectacled man slammed the table hard. Wu Yan could hear the bespectacled man's impatience. "We must get Misaka Mikoto's blood today. That's too much." Wu Yan's mind was spinning like crazy. It seems like Mikoto defeating Kakin Taidaku and becoming the second in line has affected them greatly. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in such a hurry. The bespectacled man had no choice. After all, Mikoto defeated Kikin Taidaku and overturned Academy City's Secret Research Institute's judgment on her. The implications are too great. Now, there must be a lot of people who want to dissect Mikoto so that they can figure out how she was able to break the judgment. Of course, this includes them. This wasn't just about the absolute aptitude evolution plan anymore. It also involved the ability judgment. If he could find out how Misaka Mikoto broke through the ability judgment, would he be able to use this method on other people? If they can, then they can help others break the judgment and create countless super aptitude users. The moment they thought of this, the researchers went crazy. Every one of them had their eyes set on Mikoto. The bespectacled man was the same. I said, "This is your business." The bespectacled man said angrily, "Tonight, I want to see Misaka Mikoto's blood." After you get Misaka Mikoto's blood, you'll get. Wu Yin was stunned when he heard the address given by the bespectacled man. The address given by the bespectacled man was the Research Institute where the remaining Misaka sisters were gathered. After giving the address, the bespectacled man didn't give Wu Yin a chance to speak and hung up. Wu Yin held the phone in his hand for a long time. When he did, he was overjoyed. This was a great opportunity to sneak into the Research Institute openly and save his sisters. "Yin, what's going on? Who's that person?" Seeing Wu Yin put away his phone, Mikoto couldn't wait any longer. She wanted to know everything. Wu Yin sighed. He knew that Mikoto was anxious. After all, this was one of her worries. But Kuriko and the rest were here. How am I supposed to answer your questions? Wu Yin had no choice but to tell them about the deal he made with the bespectacled man. Of course, he didn't tell them anything about the absolute aptitude user evolution plan. Kuriko, Ruko, and Waharu were all confused. Why did the other party want Mikoto's blood? But one thing was for sure, it wasn't anything good. Hence, under the influence of justice, and since it was related to her sister, Kuriko immediately expressed her opinion. This matter is already classified as a crime. We, the Conduct and Discipline Committee, have the right to investigate this matter and arrest the mastermind behind it. Wu Yin laughed bitterly. If the higher-ups of Academy City could be arrested by a group of students, then there wouldn't be so much darkness in Academy City. "Kuriko, it's better if you don't get involved in this." Kuriko was stunned. She immediately complained. "Why? This is a serious matter. It's better if you don't get involved." Without waiting for Kuriko's reply, Wu Yin looked at Mikoto, Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria. "I have a plan." Chapter 205. At night, Wu Yin went to a research facility alone. Actually, Wu Yin has been to this facility quite a few times already. Almost every night, he would come here at least once. Back then, he was sneaking around. This time, he came here in broad daylight. Looking at the tall building in front of him, Wu Yin's eyes flashed, and then he walked up. Almost at the same time, the door of the Research Institute opened. Two security guards came out from inside, holding batons in their hands, looking at Wu Yin, full of vigilance. The two security guards looked at each other, then, without hesitation, put the batons in their hands in front of Wu Yin and stopped Wu Yin. "This is a private area. We don't accept visitors. Please don't come any closer." Hearing this, Wu Yin took 2 steps back and said to them, "I was invited by the people here. That's why I came here." When Wu Yin said this sentence, on the side of the door, there was a device like a doorbell, and the owner of the voice was the glasses man. "He was invited by me. Bring him in." The 2 security guards quickly said yes, and then brought Wu Yin in. One of them led the way, and the other stood behind Wu Yin. It felt like they were escorting him. Along the way, Wu Yin passed by a lot of robots that looked like garbage cans, and even passed by layers of guards. Looking at the heavily guarded Research Institute, Wu Yin hated it so much that his teeth itched. Almost every time, it was these hateful guards and endless precautions that made him return empty-handed from many nights. And he couldn't save even one of his sisters. If it weren't for his sisters still in this Research Institute, Wu Yin would have been annoyed by them and directly attacked. Of course, attacking by force was definitely not a good idea. After all, the number of sisters was very small, and the people in the research institute had a lot of opportunities to transfer the sisters while he was attacking. At that time, he would return empty-handed. But today was different. As long as he could sneak into the research institute, Wu Yin had enough confidence to rescue his sisters. Soon, Wu Yin was brought to a room. The bespectacled man was sitting in the room, pacing anxiously. When he saw Wu Yin, he revealed a happy smile. He casually waved his hand and dismissed the two security guards who were leading the way. It seemed that the bespectacled man had a very high status in this research institute. "Young man, you really keep your word." The bespectacled man walked in front of Wu Yin, patted his shoulder, and said earnestly. That pretentious look made Wu Yin almost unable to hold back and beat him up. He could only pull out an ugly smile. "Since you're here, it means that you've obtained Miss Saka Mikoto's blood, right?" The bespectacled man couldn't wait any longer. His eyes were shining with fanaticism. The way he looked at Wu Yin was exactly the same as the way Gakuo looked at the controlling brain. However, Wu Yin knew that the bespectacled man wasn't interested in him, but Mikoto's DNA. "Don't tell me you didn't get it." The bespectacled man retracted his smile when he saw Wu Yin's silence. His face was filled with murderous intent. If Wu Yin dared to say the word no, the bespectacled man wouldn't go easy on him. Wu Yin finally reacted. He lifted his head and grinned at the bespectacled man. Then, he punched the bespectacled man's face. The bespectacled man's nose bled, and he fell to the ground. He twitched twice and fainted. "I've been wanting to beat you up for a long time now." Wu Yin kicked the bespectacled man twice to vent his anger. Then, an electric current flashed across his forehead. Outside the research institute, in a corner, Mikoto, Chuju Ikaros, and Astria were hiding here. Chuju was looking in the direction of the research institute, while Mikoto had her eyes closed. Nobody knew what she was doing. At a certain moment, a blue and white electric current suddenly flashed on Mikoto's forehead without warning. She opened her eyes almost as soon as the electric current flashed. "Yan's signal?" Chuju asked. Mikoto nodded. Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria exchanged glances with Mikoto. They all took out a crystal-like scroll. "Return scroll." Without hesitation, the four girls crushed the scroll in their hands. The fragments of the scroll turned into specks of light and attached themselves to the four girls. Then, in a flash, the four girls disappeared. Inside the research institute, in front of Wu Yin, white specks of light crawled out from the ground like fireflies. More and more of them appeared. Soon, the specks of light turned into light and illuminated the entire room. When the light dimmed, Mikoto, Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria appeared in front of Wu Yin. Wu Yin chuckled and casually threw away the brick in his hand. After all, the teleportation point of the town return scroll can't be set on a person's body. Wu Yin could only resort to trickery and set the teleportation point on the brick before bringing it in. The four girls saw Wu Yin and immediately ran to Wu Yin's side. Mikoto looked at the unconscious, bespectacled man on the ground and frowned. She said unhappily, "Is he the one who wants my blood?" Wu Yin nodded. Mikoto smiled sinisterly and shot out a taser gun. The unconscious, bespectacled man's body was char-black. He twitched nonstop and turned into a frog in his sleep. Wu Yin's mouth twitched. "Sis Cannon sure knows how to hold a grudge." Wu Yin quickly stopped Mikoto when he saw that she was going to use another taser gun. "All right, he'll suffer. Let's find the sisters first." Mikoto reluctantly stopped when she heard about the sisters. Wu Yin let out a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Mikoto would kill the bespectacled man. Although he also wanted to, looking at the bespectacled man on the ground and the girls, Wu Yin said in a low voice, "Let's proceed with the plan." When Wu Yin said that, Mikoto immediately turned her unwillingness into her boss's unwillingness. "Are we really going to ask that woman for help?" Wu Yin couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Yeah, in this situation, she's the most suitable person to do it, but..." Mikoto was still a little reluctant. "We have the system's item list. There should be something suitable in there." right? There is indeed something suitable in the item list. But at this time, it's better to let a professional do it. After all, what we're going to do is more human-like. Wu Yin tried his best to persuade her. If possible, he wouldn't want an outsider to get involved. But to be safe, this is necessary. Plus, the other party probably wouldn't go around telling others about this. Probably, all right. I understand. For the sisters, I'll bear with it. Wu Yin could only smile bitterly again. He crushed a return scroll and disappeared from the spot. Not long later, a familiar light appeared in the room. When the light faded, Wu Yin appeared with a woman. Era, I didn't expect that you would do something so illegal. I'm really surprised. As soon as the woman appeared in the room, she immediately taunted Makoto. Makoto clenched her teeth and told herself to bear with it. All right, Jusama, you should hurry up and finish your business. Wu Yin could only remind her. Otherwise, she might really attract attention. Shokuho Misaki pursed her lips and stopped trying to attract Makoto's aggro. Instead, she turned her head and looked deeply into Wu Yan's eyes. She was simply too curious. How did the man in front of her bring her here in an instant? Teleportation ability? But doesn't he have the same ability as Misaka Makoto? Or is there another secret? Thinking of this, Shokuho Misaki couldn't help but lick her lips. Her starry eyes stared at Wu Yan. She didn't hide her curiosity and interest towards Wu Yan. This made Wu Yan's hair stand on end. Seeing how Shokuho Misaki wanted to eat him alive, Wu Yan couldn't help but cry. He was sure that if she could, Jusama wouldn't hesitate to use her ability on him 70 or 80 times to force him to spill the beans. Chapter 206. The two security guards at the door didn't notice anything that happened in the room. They stood there dutifully to prevent any accidents from happening. After all, they were the ones who brought Wu Yin in. They are responsible for escorting Wu Yin out. Otherwise, if the person they brought in causes a ruckus here, they will be the ones to die. Until a certain moment, a sound came from inside the room. Come in. Hearing the familiar voice, the two security guards pushed the door open and walked in. The first thing they saw was the young man they brought in. Then, they looked at the man in glasses. Take him out, the man in glasses ordered. The two security guards nodded and escorted Wu Yin out. If you look closely, you will notice that the man in glasses had a blank look in his eyes. Wu Yin obediently followed the two security guards out of the lab. When Wu Yin walked out of the lab, the two security guards didn't say a word. They turned around and closed the door behind them. Wu Yin walked away as if he didn't see anything. When he couldn't see the lab anymore, Wu Yin stopped. He took out a return scroll and crushed it. Wu Yin's vision blurred, and he reappeared in the lab. Just as Wu Yin appeared, Makoto, Chuju, Ikaros, Astria, and Shokuho Misaki appeared out of thin air. They were holding a cloak in their hands. Shokuho Misaki touched the cloak curiously. Her eyes were shining with curiosity. What kind of cloak is this? It can turn invisible. Wu Yin shrugged and said, a cloak that can turn invisible. Of course, it's the invisibility cloak. Shokuho Misaki didn't ask any more questions. She looked at Wu Yin with her starry eyes. Her lips curved into an intriguing smile. She even tapped her lips with her finger. One day, I'll definitely make you spill all your secrets, she thought. Wu Yin saw Jusama's expression, but he didn't care. If Jusama can blackmail him into telling her about herself, she wouldn't be able to run away when the time comes. With that in mind, Wu Yin turned around and looked at the man in glasses. So what happened to this guy? Shokuho Misaki said, The part about your memories in today's events are mostly deleted. Wu Yin released a sigh of relief, and he smiled at Shokuho Misaki. Thank you, Queen. Shokuho Misaki covered her mouth and giggled. No need to thank me. Remember what you promised me. After hearing this promise, Makoto expressed her dissatisfaction, and Hanajuku was also quite displeased. The two girls turned their heads away, out of sight, out of mind. Wu Yin smiled sheepishly. Of course I won't forget. No matter how I look at it, I'm the one who got the better end of the deal. He went through a lot of trouble to get Jusama to help him, and in the end, he got a date with her. Wu Yin didn't know what Shoko Misaki was up to, but he's the one who got the most out of this, I'm looking forward to it. Koho-sama covered her smile and took out a crystal scroll. She looked at it curiously and looked at Wu Yin with a bit of reluctance. One interesting thing. You have to give me more next time, little Yin. Wu Yin rolled his eyes. He knew that Shokuho Misaki's attention to him had increased by 100% due to the series of magical items. However, Koho-sama was smart enough to know what to ask and what not to ask. She held herself back from asking. After Shokuho Misaki crushed the return scroll and disappeared, Mikoto and Chuju turned around and looked at Wu Yin with serious expressions. Mikoto even looked a bit excited. Finally, she could be of help. Wu Yin nodded at everyone when he saw them looking at him. Let's do as we said. Mikoto and I will sense the location of the sisters and rescue them. This time, I must save all the remaining sisters. The girls nodded with determination. Wu Yin smiled in relief. However, his smile soon froze on his face. He was completely stunned. Beep. Special event detected. Sudden mission issued. Sudden mission. Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Project restarted in advance. Under the arrangement of the researchers, Accelerator was heading to the experimental site. There, the military clone, Sister Misaka, was on the brink of death. Mission: find the experimental site of the Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Project and rescue the dying military clone, Misaka's sister. Mission reward: equipment, items, ability, and summoning points 10,000 points. Beep. Special event detected. Dungeon Mission 2 restarted in advance. Dungeon World. Magic Catalog. Dungeon Mission. Rescue. Mission 1. Save 20,000 Misaka sisters. Revive all the dead Misaka sisters and heal the Misaka sisters who are still alive. Collect all 20,000 Misaka sisters and store them in the biocontainment device. Mission reward: equipment points, item points, ability points, summoning points 100,000 each. Mission 2. Defeat the strongest Esper in Academy City, Accelerator. Mission reward: randomly summon a character. Mission 3. Locked. How did this happen? Wu Yin was speechless. The sudden activation of the Absolute Aptitude User Evolution Project caught Wu Yin off guard. He was supposed to rescue the remaining sisters, wasn't he? Yin, what's going on? Why did the experiment suddenly start? Wu Yin still hasn't recovered from the sudden turn of events when Mikoto yelled at him in a panicked manner. If it weren't for the fact that he did something beforehand, her voice would have attracted the attention of the people in the research facility. Hearing Mikoto's words and the serious expression on the girls' faces, Wu Yin was taken aback. You all know about it? Chuja nodded and said in a serious tone, the system has already shared the mission with us. Looks like this is a little urgent. It's more than urgent. Wu Yin smiled bitterly. Now, whether or not we can find the experimental site is a problem. What should we do? Yin. Mikoto's face turned pale. If we don't stop it soon, that sister. Wu Yin fell silent and smiled bitterly in his heart. Even if it wasn't for the mission, Wu Yin couldn't just watch one of his sisters die in front of him, let alone Mikoto. The most logical thing to do now is to continue with his plan and rescue the remaining sisters. As for the sister that's undergoing the experiment, he can use the genetic life serum to save her. But forget about Wu Yin. No one here want to do that, because they all treat their sisters as human beings, not tools to be manipulated. They can ignore their deaths and look at them rationally. They can't do it. Yin, Mikoto, calm down. Seeing Wu Yin and Mikoto in a panic and unable to calm down, Chuju quickly stepped forward to stop them. Hurry up and think of a solution. That's the most important thing. Yes, there's a way. There's a way. She said that, but her expression didn't calm down. She's still running around in circles. Wu Yin, on the other hand, calmed down first. Looks like we have to split into 2 teams. One team will stay here and rescue the sisters. The other team will go and stop Accelerator. Wu Yin pondered for a moment and finally said, let me go to Accelerator. You're going? Hinajiko frowned. Yin, Accelerator is definitely a Tier 8 fighter. You're only a Tier 7. You're no match for him. Wu Yin smiled bitterly. Chuju's words hit his weak spot. But Mikoto and Chuju don't know anything about Accelerator. He's the only one who knows a thing or two about Accelerator. If I don't go, who will? Chapter 207. After explaining the reason to Chuju, Mikoto, Ikaros, and Astria, the four girls went silent. They really don't know Accelerator. Forget about his abilities. They don't even know what he looks like. Wu Yin, on the other hand, knows Accelerator very well. Not just his looks, but his personality and abilities as well. That's why there's no reason to stop Wu Yin, but you're not Accelerator's match. You might not be able to do anything even if you go. Seeing Wu Yan's determined expression, Chuju couldn't help but feel a little anxious. The other three girls also had the same expression. They're worried something will happen to Wu Yin. Wu Yin smiled and comforted them. Don't worry, it's not like I don't have a return scroll. If worst comes to worst, I'll just take the sisters and leave. If that's the case, what about the second mission? Aren't we supposed to defeat Accelerator? Chuju looked at Wu Yin as if she could see through Wu Yan's thoughts. With your personality, there's no way you'd run away without even trying. Wu Yin went silent. He felt helpless. He has to admit that Kaisha-sama knows him well. If he didn't try, there's no way he'd run away. Mikoto suddenly said, Yin, I'll go with you. Wu Yin bitterly smiled. Mikoto, I understand how you feel right now. But if both of us go, who's going to sense the sister's location? We're the only ones who have the ability to sense the sisters within a short distance. But Mikoto hesitated. She doesn't want him to take the risk alone. But there are sisters on both sides. How do you expect her to choose? No buts. Wu Yin held Mikoto's shoulder and said solemnly, Leave that sister to me. You have to save the other sisters. That's our promise. Mikoto lowered her head when she saw Wu Yan's irrefutable look. But that doesn't mean the others will too. Wu Yan felt something tugging at his back. He turned around and saw Ikaros looking at him with her indigo eyes. There was even a hint of pleading in her eyes. Master, it was just a sentence, but the meaning behind it was clear to everyone. Ikaros, you can't go either. Wu Yan ruffled Ikaros' hair. You're the strongest among us. We only have one accelerator. But if you're exposed, you'll have to face the entire research facility. Wu Yan's gaze then turned to Ikaros. At that time, you, who have an unparalleled advantage in group battles, will definitely be the best candidate to deal with them. But, Master, Ikaros' expression slowly turned into one of deep worry. Her expression is so sad that anyone who saw it couldn't help but feel pain in their heart. Wu Yan felt the same way. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Wu Yan softly comforted Ikaros. If it comes down to it, I'll run away. Don't worry, okay? Ikaros' eyes fluctuated rapidly. Her inner struggle was evident. Looking at Wu Yan's gentle gaze, Ikaros could only nod. In return, Wu Yan smiled. Astria stood in front of Wu Yan and she yelled at him. Then, Master, let Astria accompany you. Astria even waved her arm to show off her strength. That Fong-something guy, Astria won't lose to him. This time, Wu Yan didn't object. It's true that with his own strength, defeating Accelerator would be extremely difficult. If he didn't know the original author and have a good understanding of Accelerator's abilities, it wouldn't be difficult at all. He might have even fallen into despair. After all, Accelerator's ability is terrifying. Vector manipulation. As long as he touches it through his skin, he can freely manipulate the direction of kinetic energy, heat energy, electrical energy, etc. He can reflect all physical attacks. In theory, even a nuclear explosion wouldn't hurt him. He can even temporarily affect the rotation of the Earth. To be honest, if it was just him alone, even if he knew Accelerator's weakness, he wouldn't have the confidence to beat him. However, with Astria on his side, it's a different story. As a melee angel, even Ikaros can't compare to Astria in terms of melee combat ability. In theory, Astria can't defeat Accelerator, who can reflect all physical attacks. However, with Astria's understanding of melee combat, it won't be hard for her to defeat Accelerator. As long as Astrea can execute an attack that exceeds Accelerator's computational ability, Accelerator won't be her match. With two rare armaments that are infinitely close to gold armaments, Wu Yin believes Astrea can defeat Accelerator. Thinking of this, Wu Yin didn't object. All right then, Astrea, you're coming with me? Astrea's face lit up. Yes, Master. Chuju didn't say anything about Wu Yan's decision. It's not that she isn't worried about Wu Yan. It's just that she's the weakest in the group other than Wu Yan. She won't be of much help even if she goes with them. Chuju had no choice but to ask. Then, how are you going to find Accelerator? Wu Yan lowered his head and thought for a while. After a while, he touched the biocontainment device in his hand. Looks like I can only rely on my sisters. You're thinking of... Wu Yan nodded. He touched the biocontainment device, and a figure identical to Mikoto appeared in front of everyone. She looked around in a daze, and when she saw Wu Yan, she froze in place. Misaka found a weirdo. Misaka said in surprise. Wu Yan's face twitched. Why are you calling me a weirdo? Because you're the thief who stole the Misakas and the good person who healed them. But you're also a pervert who locked them up in a dark place to sleep. That's why I'm calling you a weirdo. Misaka tried to explain to the weirdo in front of her why he's a weirdo. Even at this critical moment, Wu Yan was still stunned by Misaka's sister's powerful speech. However, Misaka's sister didn't pay attention to him anymore because she noticed Mikoto. It's Wani-sama, Misaka said in surprise. I'm happy to be able to meet Wani-sama. Hearing this, Mikoto felt a surge of warmth in her heart. At the same time, her determination to save her sisters grew even stronger. I'm happy to be able to meet you too. But, sister, I have something I need your help with. You're the only one who can help me. After Mikoto finished her explanation, Misaka's sister was silent for a long time before she lifted her head and spoke. Why do you want to save the Misakas? Their bodies are borrowed and their hearts are fake. They only cost 180,000 yen per body. All you need to do is press a button, and you can make them. Mikoto bit her lips so hard that she almost broke her skin. Wu Yan clenched his fists and hugged his sister. Mikoto was stunned by the scene in front of her. Who said your bodies are borrowed? Who said your hearts are fake? Wu Yan vented his anger by shouting. Your bodies, your hearts, they were all cut off from Mikoto's body. It's Mikoto's DNA that made you. Everything you have belongs to Mikoto. I'm not from the research institute of those bastards. So, don't humiliate yourself. Misaka's sis was stunned. Her lifeless eyes moved a little. She mumbled, everything we have belongs to Wani-sama. That's right. Wu Yan looked into her eyes, and he continued in a gentle tone. So, for the sake of Wani-sama, I beg of you, sis, please help us for Wani-sama. Misaka's sis looked at Mikoto. She saw the excitement and guilt on Mikoto's face. Yes, for Wani-sama. Chapter 208. Night on a deserted street. A man and two women were running wildly in a certain direction. One of the women was even carried on the man's back due to lack of physical strength. Misaka's sister had her eyes closed. Every once in a while, she would open her eyes and point in a certain direction. Wu Yan and Astrea were running in that direction, hoping to catch up to the experiment before it starts. The biocontainment device on his hand disappeared. Wu Yan gave it to Mikoto. Ikaros, Mikoto, and Chuju are there, so Wu Yan wasn't worried about them. He just needed to focus on this side. If it weren't for Wu Yan and Astrea's strong bodies, they would have collapsed from exhaustion by now. Until a certain point, the sister finally said something. It's right in front, Misaka said confidently. Wu Yan didn't speed up. Instead, he stopped and allowed Astrea, who was running behind him, to crash into Wu Yan. Her voluptuous breasts pressed against Wu Yan's back and bounced off Wu Yan. Wu Yan stumbled and almost fell to the ground from Astrea's voluptuous breasts. He didn't know what to feel. Was he glad that he put Misaka's sister down first? Or was he hoping that Astrea crashed into Misaka's sister? If it wasn't for the timing, he might have screamed in pleasure. Master! Astrea acted like nothing happened. She looked at Wu Yan in confusion. She didn't understand why he suddenly stopped. The same goes for her sister. Wu Yin sighed helplessly when he saw Astria's confused expression. He just told her something, and she forgot about it. What should he say to her? Wu Yin didn't explain. He took out a capsule from his inventory. Astria was enlightened when she saw the capsule. She took out a capsule from her inventory as well. Transformation capsule. Changes the user's appearance and physique to 100%. The user must consume a reversion capsule to restore their original appearance. 2,000 item points. The transformation capsule is the item Icaros and Astria used to stop the hounds and item. If possible, Wu Yin doesn't want to expose himself. After all, it's easier to do things while hiding in the shadows. The moment Wu Yin and Astria consumed the polymorph capsules, their figures and appearances changed completely. Even if someone familiar with them came here, they wouldn't be able to recognize the two of them. Ignoring Misaka Sis, who was calmly yelling that the weirdo and his companions transformed, Misaka Sis exclaimed in shock. Wu Yin ran forward. Astria and Misaka Sis quickly followed after him. Soon, a barren rocky ground appeared before their eyes. The rocky ground was very spacious, and Misaka's sister, who was about to conduct her experiment, stood in the middle of it all, as if she was afraid that no one would be able to find her. Where's Accelerator? Is he not here yet? Wu Yin looked around and didn't see Accelerator. He let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt a little disappointed. After all, Accelerator was his second mission. Misaka's sister saw Wu Yin and the others running towards her. She asked, "Are you guys here to save Misaka?" Misaka said with an inexplicable feeling. "Is Accelerator not here yet?" Wu Yin wasn't surprised that Misaka's sister knew he was here to save her and accepted his rescue. After all, Misaka's sisters are connected to the Misaka network. Whatever he said to one of them, she would know as well. Wu Yin nodded when Misaka's sister nodded. Wu Yin looked at the two identical sisters and asked, "Which sister are you?" Misaka is a military clone. Her serial number is 00001. Misaka answered honestly. She was unhappy that the weirdo didn't know her serial number. This is the Misaka's sister who led the way. Wu Yin didn't expect to get 00001 out of a random sister. Or should I say, his luck. Misaka is a military clone. Her serial number is 10032. Misaka introduced seriously. This is the sister who is going to conduct her experiment. However, her serial number surprised Wu Yin. 10032. Isn't that the sister who was saved by Tumei in the original work? What a coincidence. She's the one who will be restarting the experiment. Looking at Misaka 10032, Wu Yin didn't see anything special about her. She was saved by Tumei in the original work, and now he saved her. She's pretty much the same as the other sisters. Ugh, that's nonsense. All right, sisters. Wu Yin only used their serial numbers to identify them. Wu Yin was against calling them by their serial numbers. You should leave this place first. It'll be dangerous if you stay beside the battle later. Wu Yin could have just left with the sisters. However, this is related to his second mission. Wu Yin didn't want to leave without trying anything. At least with Astria around, they still have hope. Misaka 00001 nodded. Misaka 10032 asked, "Are we going to Wani-sama's place?" Misaka asked expectantly. That's right. Wu Yin stuffed a return scroll into Misaka 10,032's hand and said with a smile, "Go find your Wani-sama. She's waiting for you." Misaka 10032 nodded. Her eyes flickered as she accepted the return scroll from Wu Yin. Astria's crimson eyes flashed. She looked at a corner and called out to Wu Yin. "Master, you're here?" Wu Yin slowly turned around and looked at the direction Astria pointed at. There, a figure slowly walked out from the shadows. White hair, red eyes, striped clothes like a prisoner. His body was as thin as a stick. He looked like he could be pushed down by a strong gust of wind. If it wasn't for the vicious expression on his face, no one would believe he's the strongest ability user in Academy City. Accelerator. Accelerator. Level 70. Wu Yan's pupil shrunk. He's level 70, tier 8. Accelerator was stunned when he saw the two Misaka sisters and two strangers. He said impatiently, "What's going on? Who are you two? Are you here to inform me that I have to kill two more puppets for today's experiment? I don't care." Anger flashed in Wu Yan's eyes. The way he looked at Accelerator also turned hostile. Even if it wasn't for the mission, just because of what he said just now, Accelerator must be beaten up today. Wu Yan lowered his head and ignored Accelerator. He said to the two sisters, "You two, leave first." The sisters looked at Wu Yan and then at Accelerator. They nodded and crushed their scrolls before disappearing into thin air. Spatial ability? Accelerator looked at the spot where the Misaka sisters were standing and said in shock, "What's going on? How did those puppets know how to use spatial abilities?" Puppets. Wu Yan closed his eyes and calmed his emotions. He looked at Accelerator with a calm expression. Wu Yan's expression showed how angry he is. When Accelerator was about to say something, his phone suddenly rang. He frowned and picked up the phone impatiently. "Hey, what's going on?" The person on the other side of the phone said something, and Accelerator's impatience disappeared. When the call ended, Accelerator was expressionless. He looked at Wu Yan and Astria with a sinister smile. "I see. You want to stop me from becoming invincible? Then prepare to die." Chapter 209. Ding. Sudden quest completed. Obtained 10,000 equipment points, item points, ability points, summoning points. After Misaka's sister teleported away, the sudden quest completion notification popped up. However, Wu Yan didn't have the energy to pay attention to it. "Master, be careful." Astria thought Accelerator was too much of a threat to Wu Yan, so she stood in front of Wu Yan with a serious expression. I have to admit, Astria is very intimidating when she's in combat mode. Accelerator smiled indifferently. He tilted his head back a bit and made an extremely arrogant and disdainful expression. He said with an evil smile, "You're coming too? Well, it doesn't matter. They're all trying to stop me from becoming invincible. I'll just kill them all." Accelerator. Wu Yan suddenly raised his head and looked at Accelerator with a serious expression. "I didn't want to be your enemy." Accelerator couldn't help but smile disdainfully. "I thought that the person who came to stop me would be someone who overestimated himself. It turns out that you can't even be called overestimating yourself. You're just a coward." After saying that, Accelerator continued, "Well, that's normal. After all, I'm Accelerator." When he said this, Accelerator's tone was filled with pride and imperceptible sorrow. Then he laughed loudly, and his laughter was particularly unpleasant to the ears. Wu Yan glanced at the laughing Accelerator, but he didn't refute the guy's words. Accelerator probably thinks he's afraid of Accelerator's title. That's why he said something like that. He didn't know that Wu Yan said those words because Accelerator's name will be cleared in the future. That's why Wu Yan didn't save the little girl in the final production first. But it's different now. Even though Accelerator will be cleared in the future, he treated his sister like trash, a puppet, and an existence that can be killed at will. That alone is reason enough for me to beat him up. Accelerator's laughter got softer and softer. He looked at the man and woman in front of him who didn't react at all. He pursed his lips and smiled sinisterly. "Then, before I hunt those mannequins, let's do a warm-up." With that, Accelerator raised his foot and gently stomped on the ground. A violent shockwave spread out. The shockwave spread across the ground. With Accelerator as the center, the ground within a 5-meter radius crumbled into dust. The ground shook violently. Wu Yan and Astria quickly stabilized themselves. They jumped back a few meters and looked at Accelerator at the same time. What a strong, destructive power! Tilting his head and smiling evilly, Accelerator softly spat out 2 words. "Die." Pebbles floated up from the ground, and after pausing in the air, the pebbles rushed towards Wu Yan and Astria in a frenzy, creating sonic booms in the process. Wu Yan didn't doubt that these pebbles could penetrate his body. He raised his hand, and black iron sand shot out from the ground. It wrapped around Wu Yan and formed an iron wall to block the incoming pebbles. Astria's eyes glowed red. A blue and white, round shield appeared on her wrist out of thin air. She raised it in front of her. A transparent crystal barrier formed by data extended from the edge of the shield. It covered Astria's body. The pebbles hit the barrier, but they only made a few crackling sounds before disintegrating into dust. Aegis equals 1, area of effect shield. Astria's strongest shield. Yo, I'm going to start too. After Accelerator's attack was over, Astria roared with vigor. She took out her super photon blade and swung it behind her. Astria, attack! Astria dashed towards Accelerator at an unimaginable speed. Accelerator's face fell when he saw her speed. The blade landed on Accelerator's body. Astria felt a huge force coming from the hand holding the blade. She was sent flying back at a speed faster than she was flying. Wu Yin helplessly facepalmed. He already told her that she can't attack Accelerator directly. She has to change her strength. Yet, she still slashed at him like a fool, as expected of an idiot. Astria finally remembered Wu Yan's instructions. She lowered her head and flew back to Wu Yan's side. She glared at Accelerator with a huff. Looks like he's blaming someone else for this. Astria's attack should have been reflected back at Accelerator. She should have taken quite a bit of damage. However, there wasn't even a scratch on Astria's body. Accelerator was surprised to see this. You're pretty fast. Looks like your defense isn't bad either. Accelerator's mocking smile disappeared. He looked at Astria with a dark expression. However, your attack is useless. He spread his hands, and the surrounding atmosphere suddenly fluctuated. Under Accelerator's control, a huge tornado quickly appeared around him, revolving around his body. Play with me for a bit longer. Don't die so quickly. Accelerator looked at Wu Yin and Astria. Then, the tornado headed towards Wu Yin. Why me? Of course, no one could answer this question. The black waves turned into a similar tornado, but this one was black in color. It had nothing to do with wind. It was just a sand wave made of iron sand. The iron sand tornado collided with a real tornado. Wind and waves spread out in all directions. The two tornadoes canceled each other out. They didn't deal any damage to each other. However, the ground shook and rocks rained down on Wu Yin. A golden figure stood in front of Wu Yin. He raised his small round shield, and a data shield appeared at the same time, blocking all of the rocks. Wu Yin saw Astria blocking Accelerator's attack for him. He clenched his fist, and an iron sand sword formed in his palm. Wu Yin rushed out from Astria's side and appeared in front of Accelerator in an instant. The man appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. Accelerator was surprised. Of course, he was surprised by the man's speed. How are these two so fast? However, Accelerator didn't care about the iron sand sword coming at him. Instead, he flashed Wu Yin a disdainful smile, as if he's mocking something. With Reflect, who can hurt him? The black iron sand sword stabbed viciously at Accelerator's chest. When it came into contact with Accelerator, the iron sand sword was shattered by an unknown force. Accelerator looked at Wu Yan's hand and was stunned. With the strength of the other party's attack, just now, after it was reflected, that hand should have been crippled. Why was it completely fine? He quickly threw this thought to the back of his mind. His attack was ineffective anyway. It's useless. Accelerator grinned at Wu Yin. His grin is ugly. He lifted his leg, and the place where Wu Yin is standing was enveloped by a cloud of dust. Wu Yin stepped back and quickly retreated. He looked at his hand that was holding the iron sand sword. It was trembling. The web between his thumb and forefinger was torn. He clenched his fist and ignored the blood flowing out of his wound. Wu Yin gritted his teeth and showed a troubled expression. As expected, it's not easy to change the direction of your attack when it comes into contact with Accelerator's Reflect. But, looking at Accelerator not far away, Wu Yin grinned. He shook off the blood on his palm and formed another iron sand sword. It wasn't a complete failure. Wu Yin's hand was still there. That is the best proof. Chapter 2:10. It hadn't even been a minute since the battle started, but the originally intact, rocky ground had been destroyed into a mess, as if it had been plowed by something. The one who did all this is the man standing in front of me, Accelerator. It had to be said that Accelerator's ability was truly terrifying. He only needed to exert a little bit of force, and he could magnify it countless times, causing such great destruction. Any attack that comes into contact with Accelerator will be reflected back at him. Both his attack and defense are terrifying. There's no way to deal with him. Of course, this so-called unsolvable was only relative. At this time, Accelerator's expression was very gloomy because the man and woman standing in front of him were able to withstand his attacks for so long. They said that they wanted to accompany him for a bit longer, but after a while, Accelerator became angry. They should be at least LV5 by the looks of it. Why haven't I heard of them before? Accelerator narrowed his eyes. He didn't want to think about it anymore. His foot stomped on the ground fiercely. With a loud bang, the ground shook once again. The ground that was already in a mess was once again ravaged. Accelerator didn't know how he changed the force he applied. Distorted stone pillars were sent flying from the ground like spikes. They swept through the path between Accelerator and Wu Yin and Astrea. They came crashing towards Wu Yin and Astrea. Black iron sand gushed out from the ground and formed into iron whips around Wu Yin. The iron whips lashed out at the stone pillars and smashed them into smithereens. Ha ha! So what? Accelerator laughed like a madman. He stomped on the ground, causing the ground to tremble violently. More irregular stone pillars shot out from the ground. This time, not only Wu Yin and Astrea are in front of them, even behind them, left and right, irregular stone pillars shot out from the ground and rammed into the two in the middle. Wu Yin was shocked. So was Astrea. If she could use her wings, this attack wouldn't be a problem. But it's too late to use her wings. The irregularly shaped stone pillars that were attacking them from all directions quickly arrived beside the two of them. Then, they slammed into the two of them. Boom! The four irregular stone pillars collided with each other, creating a loud bang and burying Wu Yin and Astrea's location. Accelerator smiled disdainfully. It was as if he had just killed a chicken instead of a human. His entire being was filled with evil and the taste of a villain. As for what he was thinking, only he himself knew. Accelerator's disdain didn't last long. As a red flame illuminated his expression, the area buried by the irregular stone pillars began to tremble. Red flames were emitted from the middle of the colliding stone pillars. As the red flames were emitted, a powerful saber light shot out from the middle of the irregularly shaped stone pillars. The irregularly shaped stone pillar was smashed into smithereens. Rubble scattered all over the place. Wu Yin and Astrea appeared in the midst of the dust storm. Accelerator's expression darkened when he saw them. Wu Yin is holding an item in his hand, a light katana. It's none other than the Nigata no Shana. Using chaotic return to horizon waltz. To break the irregular pillars wasn't that hard, but it still made Wu Yan's face covered in dirt. Luckily, this appearance isn't his real appearance. Master, are you okay? Astrea didn't seem to care about the dust on her nose as she asked Wu Yin in a hurry. Wu Yin couldn't help but laugh at her antics. I'm fine. Looks like he's fine. Accelerator's voice entered their ears, causing them to frown. Accelerator glanced at the irregular stone pillar that had been blasted apart by the red sword light and turned into a pile of rubble. He clicked his tongue and snorted. This level of attack can't hurt you? Looks like it's not destructive enough. Wu Yan's lips twitched when he heard this. You almost turned this place upside down, and you're saying it's not destructive enough. So what if I did? Aren't you still standing there, alive and kicking, provoking me? Accelerator laughed. Gradually, his smile turned into a maniacal laugh. If I become invincible, do you think small fries like you would still dare to provoke me? Accelerator pointed at Wu Yin. All of you want to step on me and steal my title. Even small fries like you who have never heard of me can provoke me. Isn't that so? Wu Yin ignored Accelerator's rambling. He looked at Accelerator with pity in his eyes. This guy who can't even dream of getting what he wants is probably the most pitiful of them all. Accelerator didn't know if he was venting or just saying it casually. He snickered when he saw no reaction from Wu Yin and the others. As long as I become invincible, no one will dare to provoke me. Since you want to stop me from becoming invincible, then die. The wind changed direction. The cyclone formed by the violent winds roared and bellowed above Accelerator's head. Master! Wu Yin looked at the cyclone above Accelerator and then at Estria's serious expression. He nodded after a moment of silence. Estria smiled, and a data frame appeared in her eyes. At this moment, the whirlwind was already heading towards the two of them. Behind them, there were also huge rocks that covered the sky and covered the earth, falling like meteors. Wu Yin took a step back in the face of such a terrifying attack. He focused his attention on Accelerator Passage. While Accelerator Passage slid, Wu Yin grabbed Nyanaisa with both hands. Estria's crimson eyes were filled with sci-fi vibes as she looked at the incoming rocks and wind. Her back trembled slightly, and a pair of pure white wings emerged from her back. Wings! Accelerator frowned. He didn't care about Estria's wings. After all, Kakin Taidaku, who always coveted his position, also has wings. He has 3 pairs of wings. Accelerator frowned because he didn't know why, but he had a bad feeling about this. Finally, the cyclone and the falling rocks arrived. Estria let out a shout and flew into the sky. She arrived at the closest point to the cyclone at supersonic speed and slashed with her sword. A bright light shone from the cyclone and Estria's lightsaber. At the same time, Estria sliced the cyclone apart with a single slash. The tornado was sliced apart and turned into wind blades. The wind blades scattered on both sides of the ground. When the tornado was sliced apart, the falling rocks also arrived in front of Estria. Aegis equals 1, area of defense. Activate. Estria's shield shone brightly, and a crystal-like wall of data emerged from a shield. She looked at the data in front of her eyes, and the shield shone brightly. The range was several times wider than the Aegis equals L area-type protective shield that he had used before. Boom, 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 boom. The continuous barrage of boulders slammed into Estria's Aegis, AoE defensive barrier, causing a series of loud explosions before shattering into pieces. The Aegis, AoE defensive barrier, let out a few muffled thuds, but they couldn't damage Estria's Aegis, AoE defensive barrier, in the slightest. As the number of large rocks decreased, the small meteorites that were falling from the sky also disappeared. Accelerator's face turned gloomy again. He knew that he had underestimated his opponent again. His strength, attack power, and defense power. Chapter 2:11. Everything returned to normal. Only the scars on the ground told everyone that this place wasn't peaceful at all. Of course, this peace is only temporary. Like a shooting star, a silhouette with a glowing red blade silently appeared in front of Accelerator. Accelerator's expression changed slightly as the red glow of the blade filled his vision. Wu Yin hesitated when he saw Accelerator's expression. He's hesitating if he should use his full strength. If his attack gets reflected, he'll be in big trouble. Of course, in less than a second, Wu Yin tightened his grip on the sword. The hesitation in his eyes disappeared, leaving behind only determination. A bright red glow filled the entire blade of the Nemia Shana. I must succeed this time. Chaotic returned to Horizon Dance. The arc-shaped sword shot towards Accelerator at a very close distance. Accelerator's expression changed slightly before he regained his composure and shouted at Wu Yin, who was standing in front of him. Didn't I tell you? Is it useless? The blade of Chaotic Return to Horizon Dance was stopped by an unknown force, just as it was about to land on Accelerator's body. Then, the blade of light suddenly twisted. The blade of Chaotic Return to Horizon Dance, which was supposed to slash at Fantong's chest, changed direction under the influence of an unknown force and slashed at Fantong's shoulder. What? Accelerator's expression changed greatly. He reflexively took a step back. After that step, the saber light slashed down on his shoulder. After a loud explosion, Accelerator's location was covered by a cloud of black dust. As for Wu Yin, he leaped and left the area the moment he used Chaotic Return to Horizon Waltz. We did it! Astrea cheered in the air. She flapped her wings and drew a beautiful arc in the air. She landed beside Wu Yin, and a few pure white feathers floated down from the sky. We won. Master, Astrea said happily to Wu Yin. However, Wu Yin only responded with a bitter smile. You won. It's not that easy. Wu Yin looked at the dust-shrouded area in front of him. Astrea was taken aback, and she quickly turned her head to look at the dust-shrouded area. A breeze blew the dust away. When the dust dissipated, Accelerator appeared in front of Wu Yin and Astrea. His body was covered in black dust. He was holding his shoulder with one hand. Blood was slowly flowing out from there. Accelerator lowered his head, making it impossible for others to see his expression. He raised his trembling hand to cover his shoulder. When he saw the blood on it, his vermilion pupils abruptly constricted. Blood, with a hint of shock, confusion, and even more disbelief, he mumbled. He looked at the blood on his hand and suddenly smiled. Ha, 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 ha. As if he had gone mad, Accelerator ignored the burning blood on his shoulder. He looked at the blood on his hand and laughed crazily. Wu Yin tightened his grip on his sword. Astrea took a step back and said weakly, You, did he turn into an idiot? How can he laugh when he's injured? Accelerator raised his blood-stained hand high in front of his face, as if it wasn't blood but a lottery ticket. He laughed crazily. Blood. It's blood. I'm actually bleeding. I'm actually injured. Ha ha ha. Master, what? What's wrong with him? Astrea tugged on Wu Yan's clothes. Accelerator is filled with malevolence and malice. Astrea couldn't help but feel a little intimidated by the eerie atmosphere around him. Wu Yin smiled bitterly. He looked at Accelerator in silence. He felt something was wrong with Accelerator. Accelerator's laughter stopped abruptly. He turned to Wu Yin and said expressionlessly, Hey, you injured me. A monstrous killing intent emanated from Accelerator and enveloped both Wu Yin and Astrea. Astrea was fine. She just narrowed her eyes. Wu Yin, on the other hand, felt a chill down his spine as he furrowed his brows. Wu Yin and Astrea's expression changed. Astrea reacted the fastest. She hugged Wu Yin before he could react. She flapped her wings and flew into the air. In the next second, the place where Wu Yin and Astrea were standing was reduced to rubble. None of the rubble was bigger than a finger. Wu Yin and Astrea looked at the ground in shock. On the ground, with Accelerator as the epicenter, not a single piece of land was left unscathed. Wu Yin gulped. Other than Ikaros, Wu Yin has never seen such destructive power before. Master, Astrea's voice pulled Wu Yin back from his daze. When Wu Yin regained his senses, he looked up. Countless rubble filled his vision. Astrea flapped her wings. Hugging Wu Yin, she couldn't use her Aegis-type shield. She could only rely on her outstanding maneuverability to dodge the incoming rocks. Soon, countless tornadoes appeared behind the rubble and charged towards Wu Yin and Astrea, who were still in midair. This is so annoying, Astrea screamed. She flapped her wings and tried to distance herself from the tornadoes to avoid getting hit by the rubble and tornadoes. The tornadoes have caught up with the speed of the rubble. The tornadoes sucked the rubble into the tornadoes. The tornadoes blew Wu Yin and Astrea's hair into the air. If this continues, it's only a matter of time before they get hit. With Wu Yin as a burden, Astrea can't go all out. Wu Yin shouted, Astrea, let go of me. Astrea was stunned for a moment before she shouted, Master, we are in the air. All right, don't worry about it. I have a plan. Let go of me. Astrea's expression changed as she hesitated. Her speed actually slowed down for a moment, allowing the tornado to hit her. Startled, Astrea could only grit her teeth and release Wu Yin. She raised her small round shield and activated Aegis equals L, AoE shield. The debris and tornado hit the Aegis area of effect barrier, but they were all stopped. I have to admit, Astrea's defense is definitely on par with Accelerator. After using Aegis equals L to defend against Accelerator's attack, Astrea looked at Wu Yin and she released a sigh of relief. The black iron sand formed a platform in the air. Wu Yin stood on top of the iron sand. Wu Yin was just giving it a try. He controlled the flying iron sand to form a landing point to support himself. He didn't expect it to work. Astria was happy. She didn't expect Wu Yin to have a plan. However, she was shocked again. She shouted at Wu Yin, "Master, be careful." At the same time, a figure appeared in front of Wu Yin. He was supported by 4 tornadoes. He looked at Wu Yin with a sinister smile. Wu Yin's pupils shrunk to the size of a pinprick. The only thing he can see is Accelerator's hand that's slowly approaching his face. Accelerator's ability, vector manipulation. He can change the direction of vectors. This includes the direction of a human's blood and the direction of a bioelectric current. If Accelerator touches him, Wu Yin will die. "Master!" Astria shouted. She ignored the rubble and tornadoes. She deactivated Aegis and flew towards Wu Yin. Chapter 212. Many thanks to Dancing with the Maples for the huge reward. Book friends have created a group, 38999078. If you're interested in chatting with everyone, you can join. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. All that was left was the trembling of the collapsed ground and the roaring of the air. It was as if there were only 3 people left in the world. One was standing on a floating mass of iron sand with a frozen expression on his face. One was riding on 4 tornadoes with a sinister smile on his face. His hand was raised towards that frozen face. One was frantically flapping his pure white wings and flying towards the 2 people who were facing off. Behind him, there were rocks falling from the sky and violent tornadoes chasing after him. At this most dangerous moment, the mental dragon armor in Wu Yan's mind trembled violently. A wave of energy spread out from the small mental dragon armor and passed through Wu Yan's body. A transparent dragon-shaped armor suddenly formed from the energy wave and covered Wu Yan's body. At this crucial moment, it blocked Accelerator's seemingly weak but fatal hand. Accelerator was stunned. The front of his hand was blocked by this strange transparent armor, causing him to be unable to react for a moment. Looking at Accelerator's hand that was blocked by the mental dragon armor, Wu Yin sucked in a breath of cold air. He had never felt that death was so close to him before. The sound of Wu Yin sucking in a breath of cold air woke up Accelerator, who was unable to react. It made him realize that his attack was blocked once again. Immediately, Accelerator's face turned angry. The hand that was close to the mental dragon armor grabbed fiercely. He instantly used the vector manipulation ability, and the vector in his hand suddenly changed. With a bang, the mental dragon armor that saved Wu Yan's life shattered into countless transparent fragments. They turned into formless waves and returned to Wu Yan's mind. This time, Wu Yan finally realized what was going on. He waved his hand fiercely and slashed Accelerator's body. However, he was quickly sent flying by the reflected force. He smashed into the ground full of rocks and was buried by them. Accelerator spat when he saw Wu Yan using his own strength to increase the distance between them. His face was filled with displeasure. Compared to injuring his opponent, he wanted to kill him in an instant more. Accelerator's body flashed, and he wanted to control the tornado behind him to chase after him. However, at this moment, a figure accompanied by the sound of wind explosions appeared behind him. "How dare you hurt Master?" Astria's expression was cold. The data in her eyes flashed with a cold light. Accelerator's body stiffened. Then, Astria swung her Chrysor super vibration photon blade and sent Accelerator flying. "This is impossible." Accelerator's mind was filled with such thoughts as he flew backwards. As he felt the intense pain coming from his body, Accelerator finally understood that his reflection had lost its effect for the second time. The first time was fine. Even though Accelerator's reflection didn't reflect Wu Yan's attack back, it at least changed the direction of the blade that was supposed to hit his chest. This proved that his reflection still worked. But this time, it didn't work at all. Accelerator's consciousness was still in a state where his reflection didn't work. Astria flapped her wings and appeared in front of him again. The data in her eyes flashed coldly. Accelerator's expression changed. Bam! Accelerator was sent flying again after a dull thud. Accelerator's reflex was still effective. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been hit by Astria's Chrysor super vibrophoton blade, with only a slight pain. When Accelerator was sent flying again, Astria appeared in front of him again with her Chrysor super vibration photon blade. Bang! 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 Accelerator was sent flying by Astria like a sandbag. He didn't have time to react. Astria's terrifying speed didn't allow Accelerator any time to react. Every time he was sent flying, Astria would appear in front of him and send him flying again. Damn it! Accelerator's reflection couldn't keep him unscathed anymore. Even if he didn't get hit by Astria, he was severely injured. The intense pain turned Accelerator's eyes red. The whites of his eyes were bloodshot. He was enraged to the extreme. His face was distorted. Despite being sent flying again, Accelerator spread his arms. The atmosphere fluctuated with Accelerator's movement. A giant tornado formed at an incredible speed. Under Accelerator's control, it swept toward Astria. Astria was furious because Accelerator injured Wu Yin. She ignored the tornado and spread her pure white wings to the maximum. She flew towards Accelerator with terrifying speed. The distance between the angel and the tornado was shrinking. Both of them were moving at an incredible speed. They closed the distance between them in less than a second. A giant tornado descended upon them. Astria remained expressionless. She raised the small round shield in her left hand and activated Aegis equals L, area of effect shield. Astria braced herself against the tornado with Aegis equals 1, area of effect barrier. She flapped her wings, and the Aegis equals 1, area of effect barrier, tore the tornado apart. Suddenly, the angelic girl in the sky braved through the tornado and tore it apart. Then, she rushed toward Feng Xingjian without slowing down in the slightest. Accelerator's expression changed again and again. However, he couldn't stop Astria from coming. The angel wielding the lightsaber mercilessly sent him flying again. After several hits, Accelerator finally coughed up a mouthful of blood. He crashed into the ground and got buried under the rubble. He suffered the same fate as Wu Yan. Astria didn't even pant after such an intense exercise. She glanced at the spot where Accelerator landed with an indifferent gaze. Bam! The rubble that buried Accelerator's body exploded. Accelerator stumbled and stood up shakily from the rubble. It was obvious that he had taken quite a bit of damage. Feeling the sharp pain and powerlessness in his body, Accelerator almost didn't dare to believe that he, who had never been injured before, had suffered all the injuries that he should have suffered in the first half of his life today. Not only did that man injure him, even that woman who could fly almost broke his bones. Accelerator coughed up another mouthful of blood as he looked at the angel in the air. His clothes and mouth were stained with blood. Accelerator trembled as he looked at himself. I know I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough. If I'm strong enough, I won't get hurt. If I'm strong enough, those ants won't appear. If I'm strong enough, no one will provoke me anymore. If I'm strong enough, no one will hurt me anymore. It would be great if I was invincible. That way, there wouldn't be people who overestimate themselves and come here to be hurt by me. If I have to hurt people, then I'll hurt them until the day I become invincible. I will become invincible. A crazy roar resounded through the night sky. A gust of wind began to swirl around Accelerator's body. Accelerator unleashed all his computing power and began to manipulate the wind in the air. Inside Academy City, some of the windmills that were set up on the roadside or outside the buildings started to spin wildly, as if they were malfunctioning, swinging around randomly. The wind in Academy City was visibly blowing toward a certain direction, and the center of this direction was the directional passage. The howling wind gathered together under Accelerator's manipulation. Under Astria's shocked expression, a small ball of white ions appeared at the center of the wind. Chapter 213. Wu Yin was buried in the rubble. Wu Yin looked like he's asleep as he laid quietly on the rock that buried him. His consciousness is hazy, and even his breathing is getting labored. Even though his body was in pain, Wu Yin was unable to regain his senses. Not only did he not care about the pain, he allowed it to wreak havoc in his body. So tired, so tired. I want to sleep. This was the only thought in Wu Yan's muddled mind. This thought almost covered up the pain and suffocation. He fell from the rubble. The mental dragon armor was broken. Even though Accelerator's fatal attack was blocked because of it, the mental dragon armor could not be used for a period of time. Therefore, Wu Yan's slash with all his strength was reflected back to him by Accelerator's armor. In addition, the impact of Wu Yin crashing into the ground, unlike Accelerator, Wu Yin didn't have vector manipulation, so he couldn't reflect the impact like Accelerator did. He had to take the full brunt of the impact, and his body took quite a bit of damage. At this moment, he was buried in the pile of rocks. The pain and suffocation took away all the strength in his body. It also made his head become muddle-headed. He just wanted to faint like this and be done with it. Just as he was about to fall asleep, a gust of wind howled above him, giving him a bit of time to recover from his fainting slumber. So noisy, Wu Yin struggled to open his eyes, but what appeared in front of him was boundless darkness. Only his ears could hear the wind howling above him. Can you not be so noisy? Can't you let me sleep? Who turned on a fan so loudly? Sigh, I don't care anymore. I'll just sleep. TSK, why does my body hurt so much? He struggled to open his eyes, and he slowly closed them again. Wu Yin just wanted to go back to sleep this time and not let anyone wake him up because he is really, really, really tired. Unfortunately, the heavens were against him. An emotionless mechanical voice rang just as Wu Yin was about to fall asleep. Ding! Mission 1 completed. Obtained 100,000 equipment points, item points, ability points, and summoning points. Mission 1, equipment points, item points, ability points, summoning points. What is this? Oh, right, this is my mission. Mission 1, I think it's to save all the sisters. Now it's done. That means Mikoto, Chuju, and Ikaros have already saved all the sisters. As expected of them, Wu Yin, who was about to pass out, suddenly started fighting against the endless drowsiness. He fought back against the pain and suffocation and fought for strength in his body. Mikoto and the girls already succeeded. How can I fail? Wu Yin's body shook, his eyes shot open, and he tightened his grip on the Nyetan Temple Shana. On the ground, Accelerator stood still. The shattered rocks around him had been blown away by the wind he had summoned. The ground that was full of shattered rocks was instantly cleared out, revealing an open space for the rock plate. Using his ability, Accelerator gathered all the wind in Academy City. A small silver-colored ion ball was slowly being formed from the gathering wind. More and more wind gathered here to replenish the silver-colored ion ball. As the ion ball got bigger and bigger, Accelerator's face got crazier and crazier. On the spur of the moment, Accelerator had used vector manipulation to control the wind in the entire Academy City, but he hadn't expected that he would come up with something like this. However, Accelerator wasn't surprised at all. Instead, he was very excited because he could feel how powerful this ion ball is. Ha ha ha! Accelerator laughed out loud in excitement as he watched the sphere of ions growing larger and larger above his head. This time, he would definitely be able to blast that winged woman into smithereens. In midair, Astria's face hurt from the strong wind. She raised her hands to shield her face. The wings on her back let out a whine. The pure white feathers were blown to the ground by the wind. The wings she was proud of became Astria's biggest obstacle. The surface area was too big and the wind was too strong. Astria couldn't get close to Accelerator. She could only watch as the dangerous ion ball got bigger and bigger. Astria tried her best to pull her wings together to support her body. She didn't want to get blown away. That was the only thing she could do. She could feel how terrifying the ion cluster above Accelerator's head was. To be honest, even with Aegis equals 1, area-type protective shield, she didn't have absolute confidence that she could block that ion cluster. From this, one could see how terrifying Accelerator is. In terms of level, Astria is much higher than him. However, in terms of strength, Astria only has the upper hand. If the battle had dragged on like this, Astria would have won. However, with Accelerator's use of the plasma ball, the situation has become a little unclear. Unable to move forward, Astria couldn't stop the ion ball from forming. She could only raise her small round shield and hope her Aegis equals L, area of effect barrier, can block it. It's useless. Accelerator laughed maniacally and shouted at Astria, who was in midair. Even if you have the same defense as me and can block one, can you block two? Or three? With my computing power, I can use this attack 4 or 5 times. Are you confident you can block 4 or 5 of these attacks? Astria didn't say anything. She raised her small round shield with determination. She silently expressed her determination. Accelerator's smile faded. His expression turned serious. He clenched his fist, and the wind gathered even faster. Master, Astria looked at the ion ball. Wu Yan's gentle smile flashed in her mind. Her expression became more determined. I can block it. The ion ball has grown to the size of a wash basin. Its power is getting stronger and stronger. Astria's expression darkened. More. Accelerator tried his best to control the wind and infuse it into the ion ball. Just a little bit more, and the power of the ion ball will be enough to tear apart Astria's Aegis equals L, area of effect barrier. Suddenly, a red sword beam shot out from a pile of rubble. It turned the rubble into dust. Almost at the same time, an orange beam of light shot out from the pile of rocks towards the cluster of ions above Accelerator's head. The orange beam was none other than the railgun. Under Astria and Accelerator's shocked gazes, the railgun slammed into the plasma ball that hadn't formed yet. Endless light flashed from the collision between the two sources of light. As the light flashed, the railgun self-destructed and neutralized the plasma cluster. What? With the disappearance of the ion cluster, the gale also dispersed and disappeared. Astria and Accelerator looked towards the direction where the railgun came from. When they saw the scene, their faces changed. Astria was happy while Accelerator was gloomy. His clothes were tattered and his body was covered in dust. Wu Yan was panting heavily. He stood there with great difficulty. He held his sword in one hand, and his other hand was held flat. Blue and white electric arcs flashed on his hand. Master, you bastard. Yes. The one who used the railgun is Wu Yan. Wu Yan tried his best to stabilize his wobbly body. He was panting heavily. His face was pale. It's unknown if it's because of the railgun or because of the damage he received. However, he still had a smile on his face. I haven't fallen yet. Chapter 214. Accelerator's last resort was destroyed by Wu Yan's railgun. Accelerator's face turned green. He glared at Wu Yan with murderous intent. He wanted to tear Wu Yan apart. Gasping for air, he closed one of his eyes due to the pain in his body. His body wobbled, and he almost fell on his butt. Taking a full blow from his own attack and crashing into the ground from the air, he was hit by countless large and small stones. This was no joke. If it was an ordinary person, such damage would be enough to kill him several times over. Plus, he was buried underground for a long time. He was short of oxygen. His body was sending out signals of weakness. Wu Yan relied on his willpower to support himself. The railgun used up quite a bit of Wu Yan's strength. Even if he's LV5 and met the requirements to use railgun, he couldn't take it anymore. He stumbled and fell to the ground. A pair of delicate hands reached out from the side and caught Wu Yan. They stabilized Wu Yan. Master, are you okay? Looking at Astria's worried expression, Wu Yan smiled weakly at her. I'm fine. Wu Yan looked at Accelerator. He was surprised when he saw Accelerator's blood-soaked clothes. He asked Astria, Astria, can you attack Accelerator? Yes. Master. Wu Yan let out a sigh of relief. Since Astria found a way to counter Accelerator's reflection, as long as he doesn't let Accelerator use his plasma balls, defeating him shouldn't be a problem. Thanks to the fresh air, the suffocating feelings subsided a lot. Wu Yan also regained a lot of his strength. He broke free from Astria's grasp. Astria, You will be the main attacker. Wu Yin looked at Accelerator and said to Astria, I can probably use the railgun one more time. I will find an opportunity to support you. You will find an opportunity to defeat Accelerator. Yes, Master. She wanted Wu Yin to rest, so she could deal with that Accelerator guy. But, looking at Wu Yan's pale face, she couldn't do anything to stop him. She could only agree with him. Wu Yin hesitated for a moment. Don't kill him. Astria flinched when she heard this. Doubt appeared in her crimson eyes, but she didn't ask anything. Whatever Wu Yin says, it is what it is. She held a coin in her hand and activated her computing power. However, she didn't use it yet. Instead, she stored it up. Go! The Chrysor shot out from her gauntlets again. Astria swung the Chrysor and charged towards Accelerator. Accelerator's expression changed. He knew his reflection was useless against the girl in front of him. He didn't want to take another hit from Astria. He stomped on the ground. A large amount of rubble rolled up from the ground. It wrapped around Accelerator's body tightly. At the same time, Accelerator spread his arms and summoned a tornado towards Astria. The tornado didn't pose any threat to Astria at all. Astria didn't even need to use her Aegis-type barrier. She tilted her wings and dodged the tornado easily. The Chrysor Super Vibration Photon Blade slashed at Accelerator, shattering all the rocks around him. When Astria was about to land a hit on Accelerator, Accelerator disappeared on the spot. At the same time, four tornadoes of different sizes descended from the sky. They attacked Astria and buried her. Astria didn't receive any damage from the violent tornadoes. She swung her Chrysor Super Photon Blade around her and sliced apart the tornadoes surrounding her. Astria flapped her wings and arrived in front of Accelerator. The saber viciously slashed down on Accelerator's body. Through some unknown method, the huge force passed through Accelerator's body and slammed into his body. Astria used the most direct method. The Chrysor in her hand turned into a thick club and smashed Accelerator away. Then, Astria raised the Chrysor. A burst of blue light came from Astria's Chrysor Super Vibrophoton Blade. The Chrysor Super Vibrophoton Blade in her hand suddenly expanded. The Chrysor Super Vibrating Photon Blade shone and fluctuated amidst the light. In the blink of an eye, it suddenly enlarged and turned into a huge lightsaber. Chrysor continued to grow until it reached a height of 10 meters. Then, Chrysor stopped growing and Astria raised it above her head. Danger, 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 danger. Alarm bells kept ringing in Accelerator's head, causing his body to shudder violently. His crimson eyes were already filled with the gigantic light sword. Accelerator gritted his teeth as he struggled to stabilize himself with his trembling body. Astria's giant lightsaber emitted boundless power. Accelerator's expression turned heavy. He had a feeling that if he couldn't block the next attack, he would be the one to lose. He felt a trace of fear in his heart. Accelerator looked like an injured wolf. His eyes turned crimson red. If that's the case, let's see whose life is tougher. With that said, a familiar gust of wind howled, rolling into a huge hurricane vortex, with Accelerator as the center, absorbing all the wind that swept over. As the wind howled, a small cluster of ions formed once again. Accelerator raised his hands high, as if he was raising a Yuan Qi bomb, and all the wind that gathered was replenished into the cluster of ions. At this moment, as if a replay had happened, an orange beam of light shot towards Accelerator's head before the plasma ball was complete, shattering it into pieces. Bastard! Accelerator roared. Wu Yin yelled at Astria, who is in the air. Now! Astria yelled. She gripped the handle of the Chrysor Super Vibrophoton Blade with both hands and slashed downwards. Like cutting through tofu, Accelerator's reflection was cut through by the giant sword. She didn't use any tricks or Accelerator's weakness. She used the most violent method to cut through that layer of defense. Then, she cut through Accelerator's thin body. Blood splattered into the air. Accelerator looked at the bloody wound on his chest in disbelief. When he felt the pain, his eyes widened and he fell to the ground. Ding! Mission 2 completed. Obtained the reward of summoning a random character. Please use the summoning interface. Ding! Mission 3 activated. The completion of Quest 2 and the activation of Quest 3 rang at the same time. Wu Yin knew that Accelerator has been defeated by them. Heaving a sigh of relief, a deep sense of exhaustion rushed into his mind. His head swelled, and he closed his eyes. He didn't even have time to look at Mission 3 before he collapsed on the ground, just like Accelerator. Before he lost consciousness, Wu Yin vaguely saw Astrea rushing towards him from the sky, and 3 familiar silhouettes running towards him from afar. Chapter 2:15. As soon as he regained consciousness, Wu Yin struggled to open his eyes. He stared blankly at the ceiling not far away and uttered a famous sentence. "I don't recognize this ceiling." As soon as he spoke, Wu Yin realized that his originally excruciating pain was actually gone. This surprised Wu Yin greatly. "Where am I?" "This is the hospital." An old frog-like face suddenly replaced the ceiling and appeared in front of Wu Yin. Startled, Wu Yin reflexively threw a punch at the frog-like face. "Ah!" The frog-faced man screamed and retreated a few steps while covering his face. Only then did Wu Yin realize that the frog-faced man was wearing a doctor's white gown. A doctor in a white coat with a frog-like face. How could Wu Yin not recognize who this person in front of him is? Underworld Soul Chaser. I didn't expect someone who hasn't been to the hospital to know my name. The frog-faced. "Oh no," the Underworld Soul Chaser said to Wu Yin in annoyance while covering his face in pain. "But even if you know me, you don't have to punch me the moment you see me. How much do you hate me?" Wu Yin chuckled in an embarrassed manner. "Unknowingly, Forget it. I just came to check on your condition. Since you still have the strength to hit people, it means that you're fine." After that, the Underworld Soul Chaser walked out of the room. It seems that his first impression of Wu Yin wasn't that good. Before leaving the room, the Underworld Soul Chaser turned back and said, "Oh right, the little girl next to you has been watching over you for an entire night." Wu Yin flinched. Only now did he notice that there's someone sleeping on his lap on the other side of his body. Looking at the tea-haired girl sleeping soundly, but with a trace of unconcealable worry between her brows, Wu Yin smiled gently and stroked her bangs. Perhaps because she felt Wu Yin's touch, the tea-haired girl's eyelids fluttered, and she immediately woke up. "Yin, you're awake." Mikoto looked at Wu Yin in surprise. The worry between her brows slowly disappeared when she saw Wu Yin wake up. Wu Yin nodded with a smile and continued stroking Mikoto's hair. "How long have I been asleep?" Wu Yin's action made Mikoto blush a little, but she didn't refuse. "You've been asleep for an entire day." After that, Mikoto immediately asked, "How is it? Do you feel any discomfort?" "No, other than feeling a little." Looking at his own body, Wu Yin smiled. At the same time, he was secretly impressed. Needless to say, the Underworld Soul Chaser must be the reason why he was able to recover in one day. That Underworld Soul Chaser, who can even bring the dead back to life, is just as strong as the original work described. If one were to ask who Wu Yin admires the most in this world, it wouldn't be Alistair, who has an insanely high IQ. Nor is it the righteous Tusii. It would be this Underworld Soul Chaser. All right, where are Chuju and the others? "Oh, they went out to buy some food," Mikoto said, and then took off a bracelet from her wrist and handed it to Wu Yin. It was the biocontainment device that contained the sisters. "My sisters, you're all inside. Moreover, we've already used the gene recovery fluid to repair your bodies." Mikoto is holding the biocontainment device like it's a treasure. When she said that, there was an unconcealable joy and relief on her face. Wu Yin took the biocontainment device and touched the bracelet that contained the sisters. His heart was filled with emotions. "You don't want them to come out and walk around?" Who knew that Mikoto would shake her head decisively? Everyone has the same face. If they come out, it will cause a ruckus. Plus, those research institutes are probably frantically looking for the sisters. It's not good for them to come out so casually. Also, Makoto looked at the biocontainment device with a gentle light in her eyes. They said that they don't want to cause trouble for everyone. So, it's not a bad idea to sleep in there. I see. Yin put the biocontainment device on his wrist and smiled. What a cute group of sisters. Makoto nodded with a smile. She hesitated for a bit and said to Yin, I've already told them about us. Oh. Yin turned to look at Makoto. Makoto continued. They said that they're willing to come with us. Yin smiled bitterly. Even if they don't want to, I'll still drag them with me. After all, there's no place for them in this world. Makoto went silent after hearing Yin's words. The atmosphere became heavy for a moment. Master! The door opened. Ikaros stood at the door with a bag in her hand. She looked at Yin, who was lying on the bed with joy in her eyes. Ikaros. Yin's heart was filled with tenderness as he looked at the girl who only cared about him. He waved at her. Yin, you're awake. Wah, Master, you're finally alive. Yin was still smiling when he heard the first sentence, but when he heard the second sentence, Yin lost all his strength again. Yin rolled his eyes at Astria and said helplessly, What do you mean I'm alive? Yin just finished his sentence when a voice full of resentment came from behind Chuju, Ikaros, and Astria. Scum like you better be bettered for the rest of your life. Yin felt a headache when he heard this voice. Every time this voice comes, it's bad news, at least for him. Kuriko, how can you say that? Makoto subconsciously felt dissatisfied. After all, the whole day Yin laid in bed. She's been worrying about him, but Wanisama. Kuriko glared at Yin with resentment for a while, before looking at Makoto with a pitiful expression. Wanisama, I've been watching over that scum for an entire day. Why don't you think about how much pain I feel? If Wanisama gets wrinkles on your beautiful face because of this, Kuriko. Maybe she's imagining Makoto's wrinkled face, but Kuriko couldn't accept it. She kneeled on the ground and kept banging her head on the ground. Kuriko. Makoto felt like she was being humiliated. Chuju led Astria and Ikaros around Kuriko and walked towards Yin. How do you feel? I'm okay. Yin ruffled Ikaros' hair. Astria immediately offered her head to Yin. Amused, Yin ruffled her hair as well. That day at the lab, Yin glanced at Kuriko, who was still banging her head, and whispered to Chuju. Chuju smiled and nodded. Don't worry, we weren't discovered. Everything went smoothly. That's good. Chuju and Makoto said in unison after hearing Yin's words. Not good at all. Yin flinched. Hanagiku pointed her finger at Yin's nose and exclaimed, Look at yourself. What's so good about you when you're like this? Yin scratched his head and laughed dryly. I didn't expect it either. Seeing Yin's, I know I'm wrong. Look, Hanagiku angrily turned her head away. All in all, the most important thing for you now is to rest. I understand. Yin replied helplessly. Master, Astria took out a bunch of lunchboxes. She took one of them and gave it to Yin. She didn't want to part with it, as she said. Master, this is for you. It's delicious. Looking at Astria's pained expression and the number of lunchboxes beside her, Yin's mouth twitched. He couldn't stay calm anymore. Outside the door, Ruizi and Early Spring stood there, watching everything that happened in the ward. They looked at each other and shrugged their shoulders helplessly. Shouldn't we have come? Quest 3. Seduce at least 3 characters in this dungeon world and have them willingly follow you out of this world. Quest Reward. Summon a character that meets the requirements of Quest 3 for free. When he saw the description of Quest 3, Yin was stunned. There was only one thought left in his mind. The system has opened its eyes. This is clearly a chance for me to expand my Crystal Palace. For a moment, Yin was immersed in a world of infinite joy. A perverted smile hung on his face. He was almost drooling. Fortunately, there was no one else in the room. Otherwise, the title of scum that Hazy mentioned would have been confirmed. After the initial joy, he frowned. Even though this mission 3 looks pretty awesome, but to push down at least 3 characters and get them to leave with him willingly, this mission isn't going to be as easy as the previous 2 missions. Moreover, the choice of characters is also a problem. Looks like I'll have to prepare for a long battle. With that in mind, Wu Yin tossed Quest 3 aside and looked at the summon column. His reward for Quest 2 is the ability to summon a character at random. This reward is not that big, but it's not that small. If he gets a powerful girl, then it's a whole different story. But after thinking about it, he gave up on the idea of doing it now. In Academy City, there are traps everywhere. Ignoring everything else, identity is a problem. If he casually summoned a person, the person would probably have to stay at home and not be able to go out. So, the matter of summoning a character should be put aside for now. Looking at his character status, he still has 4 summoning points left. Wu Yin pondered if it's time for him to exchange for new abilities and equipment. This time, the battle with Accelerator made Wu Yin realize that even though he's a tier 7, he's still very weak. Ever since he transmigrated, it's not like he hasn't been hurt before, but he's never been hurt this badly. Recalling that day's battle, his heart still palpitated. If it weren't for Mikoto and the girls saving the sisters and completing Mission 1, the system's notification would have woken him up. Otherwise, he would have been buried alive in the ground. Accelerator being too strong is one reason. But more importantly, it's because he's not strong enough. Right now, Wu Yin desperately wants to increase his strength. Only by becoming stronger can he deal with stronger enemies in the future. Tier 8 is just a stage. After that, there's still Tier 9, Demigod. Originally, Wu Yin wanted to save up his ability points and equipment points to exchange for better abilities and equipment in the future. But now, Wu Yin feels that it's not a bad idea to grasp all the resources at hand and increase his strength as quickly as possible. Plus, Wu Yin already has a choice ability. Bloodline, true ancestor bloodline. Vampires born as vampires, the most special existence among vampires.